I've had many guests come through these doors to be featured on the Sauce Talk podcast. And while I love each and every one of you, this guest today featured on the show hits slightly a little differently for me than others. See, I've always been a fan of artwork growing up, and specifically graffiti artwork. And, I was mostly exposed to street art on the highway walls, train walls, building walls, things of that nature. But it wasn't until I was scouring the internet in my young adolescence, discovering forums like 12 Ounce Profit, Bombing Science, and DVDs like even Sneak Attack Volume 1 and Volume 2, that I discovered something that rocked my world: freight train graffiti. Now, of course, we have subway graffiti, right? But I wasn't around for that. That was kind of out of my element and out of my age bracket. But freight train graffiti was there if you knew about it. And that opened an entirely new world for me. There's something so romantic and poetic about being able to paint a train in Pennsylvania and somebody in California could see the same train weeks later. And my guest here on the show is quite possibly one of the greatest freight train graffiti artists in the nation and of all time. And to be able to have him here to share his story and how he morphed into this wonderful graffiti artist, to a mural artist, to a studio artist, and to be a wonderful father, a visionary, and a role model. And I can't wait to share his story with you all. So please, without further ado, welcome my very fortunate guest, Jimmy McMenamin, a.k.a. MECRO, a.k.a. Gloss Black. You're now listening to the Sauce Talk podcast. What up, everybody? It's your boy Al Siggity Sauce, and welcome back to the Sauce Talk podcast. Today, sitting here, you are all very lucky as we have one of my favorite plain old artists of all time, not to mention graffiti artist, mural artist, visionary, and one of the most inspirational humans that I've ever met in my entire life. Please welcome Jimmy McMenamin, a.k.a. MECRO, a.k.a. Gloss Black. What's up, baby?
Thanks, Al. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming, man. How was the drive all the way up here?
Easy peasy. Just straight shot, nothing to complain about.
Hell yeah. Listen, man, before I start this podcast and we really start diving into the wonderful world that is Jimmy, a.k.a. MECRO, a.k.a. Gloss Black, I just want to thank you because I know that this type of thing is not really your thing in general. And I'm very thankful and appreciative that you came here with me, you trust in me, and you're willing to share your thoughts with me. So please, I can't even express enough how thankful I am that you're here right now.
I mean, that means a great deal to me. I mean, I feel mutual the same way because this is something I don't like to do. Typically, I'm always more of I'll let the work do the talking, and it's right. The timing's right. We already talked about this before we started, but yeah, this feels good.
the stars aligned.
Yeah,
it's time.
So let's chat.
Yeah. Now, there's something that I really want to dive into deeply, which is the enlightenment period that you and I have talked about, and it's very important to me, and I really can't wait to learn about it with you. But I can't dive into that until way later in this conversation because I feel like your life journey up until that point is so important. So I kind of want to start back from the beginning.
Yeah, and even to, not to jump ahead, but that point or that occurrence last year or the last year and a half, it's still I'm realizing it's only just the beginning. It's we're still we're all evolving and all growing. So it's kind of it's nice to do this and to kind of have a retrospective of things I've created or things I'm interested in. And then for myself too, because a lot of it I kind of just push away or forget about. So I'm interested, I've already told you this. I'm interested to hear what questions you have because a lot of this stuff, it's been 18 years of painting graffiti. So I'm kind of having to rehash or relive some of this stuff that we've done or I've done.
Yeah, totally, man. So early on in life, you grew up in Jersey, South Jersey, in the Haddon Township, if that's correct, right? In the Camden, Philly-ish area?
Yeah, Camden County, yep.
Now, I've never been down there too much. I'm not really. What was life like for you growing up in that area, as opposed to North Jersey when you came up here and you saw the vast differences in the two areas of New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, I had a nice childhood. I had a very normal childhood. I would fish a lot. There's a lake by us. I'd be out. I was always outdoors. I played soccer as a kid. I ran cross country in high school. You know, I kind of just went with the flow. What everybody was telling me, I was kind of just going and doing. I wasn't rebellious. I was kind of just go by the rules, what I'm being told to do, you know, like, you know, and then went to college. I went to Rutgers in New Brunswick. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what you want to chat about in my childhood, but we could, yeah, I mean, all was well.
I didn't know you were into soccer. Is there any? Do you still follow? Number one,
Nah.
and number two, is there any team? What was the teams that you were really following when you were a kid, like club teams?
I wasn't. I just play. So I was just playing. I gotcha. I don't know, I'm just chit chatting. So I think that I did like travel soccer as a kid, and I was always drawing as a kid. Just you know, trying to think of like things I was doing. I was just drawing and being fishing and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Speaking of drawing, like, it's clear the talent that you possess. So I was always curious personally when you started your artistic journey. So how young did you realize you loved art and that you wanted to pursue that for the rest of your life?
Oh man, I think that I was always drawing. Like I mean, I can't remember like not doodling as a kid. And I never had a certain style or anything like that. I was always just kind of replicating either comic books. Like I think I drew like just like dorky little characters, and I was into art in high school. I could tell that I was like decent at it even then. But you know, there's like to me, I look at that as like a crossroads. Is like when I was having an art teacher tell me you should go to art school, and then I'm like, I was like, I don't want to be an art teacher because she wasn't much of an inspiration in the art world. So
interesting.
So like I look at that as like a big crossroads for me, where I could have went to like art school or learned more of like, you know, like digital art or anything like that at the time, but I was like, you know what? I like nature. I like biology. I think I'd like to like learn, like go to get a degree in biology. Maybe I could work with fish and wildlife. That was kind of like my plan for life, to just do a job that's outdoors. It's like nature related. Maybe I'm like learning things or working with like in the ocean or the sea. Like that was like the dream I had as like an 18-year-old, like if I must go to college, because again, like I'm kind of following like a pattern. Or, you know, a set plan, you know, like that seems natural to me. I don't see how I'd make money in art, like at all. I didn't see that at all. There was no inspiration for that as a kid leaving high school. You know, I didn't see that. Even though at that time I was just getting into graffiti or like interest in graffiti culture, but that was like around 2000, 2002, you know. So.
That's so interesting though, that, you know, your actual teacher wasn't necessarily an inspiration for you, and you didn't really, I guess, appreciate what she had to offer. So that kind of deterred you at the moment. So it's like if you didn't have that teacher that didn't really inspire you too much in that art realm, you might have not ended up doing what you did now.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like I took like a very weird path to get back to art, you know, like, and maybe it's purposeful, you know, like obviously graffiti was like really where it started to like pick back up, because I'm basically graduating college and I'm getting into graffiti at a very considerably late age compared to a lot of other graffiti writers. You know, I'm like just like getting hungry for it as I'm graduating college. So it was a very odd time to be like, you know, I'm trying to look for a career in the sciences and then also be painting graffiti at night. So it's it's like I've been living two lives for a long time.
Wow. I want to backtrack a little bit, because I'm kind of interested in your young adolescence and the whole fishing thing as well as the drawing thing. So since I'm just curious, what kind of stuff when you were younger were you drawing a lot that obviously piqued the attention of your teacher, rather, to try to push you to go to art school? What stuff were you drawing in that time period? And out of curiosity, since you loved fishing and marine biology and things of that nature so much, were you drawing fish by any chance, or like landscapes, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I haven't really thought about it, but it's I had two different art teachers. There was like an arts and crafts teacher, and there was my art teacher. I didn't really do the arts and crafts thing. So to be more specific, the arts and crafts teacher was the one who was like, "You've got some talent. You should go to art school." And the one that, she wasn't my direct teacher, and my teacher was. It's just like the class wasn't exciting. We were just drawing still lifes of eggs and things. You know what I mean? Like the most boring thing you could think of. And I looked, and there's a lot of kids in the class who were just like fucking off and really didn't care. Because there was no it was like completely dead. Inspiration wise, and there was no exposure at that time to. Like the art world, or it's very interesting. Like we would go to the art museum, but we would all just like run around, and like there would be no context. Like I guess like it didn't grab me. Maybe it was all around me, but it just didn't grab me at the time. Or maybe I'm not trying to blame her, but there was no like from a teacher perspective. I'm thinking like if I were to teach somebody, I'd be like, oh, like if you're into this, if you're like into anime, you like this, and this, and you kind of lead kids to what their specific interest. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we didn't get any of that. It was just show up, you're hanging out for 45 minutes, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like left to my own to like be inspired or like draw things. And I think like back then I was Style Files. I think that was like. The magazine at like Tower Records, and I got my hands on some of that, and I was like, whoa, it's like European graffiti, and I was like, this is wild. And
I started
drawing graffiti, but I wasn't, or trying to draw it like really bad, and it was just that was my first exposure. But nobody in my area painted. We're in the suburbs of South Jersey, so it's like I and even in Philly, like I'd see graffiti, but I wasn't exposed to it like in it until being in New Brunswick. So,
what age was this when you were getting the Style Files at Tower Records? And Tower Records where? Because there was none by you, right?
That had been like 16 or something. I think there was one in Cherry Hill for a while.
Cherry Hill.
Maybe it was. Maybe it went by a different name. I'm pretty sure there was a big Tower Records over there, but I'm pretty sure that's where I got the stuff. And maybe there were some graph shops in Philly, and I would go to get like caps or something like that once I started to like experiment a little bit. But even then, I wouldn't say I started painting until 2006. So.
Do you remember the name of the graph shops that you were shopping at in Philly?
Oh, my friend Homer's going to kill me, but there's, was it Rare Breed? I think that's the one.
I wouldn't know, dude.
Or something like that. Shout out to that dude.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I'm curious. I'm really curious what your parents were like, because in present day, you're so structured and you're focused whether it's your life, your kids, your work, your art. Was that something that you were taught, or was that just something? When kids grow up and they're raised a certain way, they either go along with how they were raised, or they tend to repel to be everything but how they were raised.
Right.
So I'm just curious what your parents were like, because you're such a, like I told you before we started recording.
Yeah.
I view you as an alien in the graffiti world. You're such a very structured, hyper-focused, stable individual. And I'm just really curious on your foundation, how you even became that way.
Yeah, I mean, my mother and father are married. They're still married. I have an older sister, Erin, and I think she was more the rebellious one. I kind of maybe was like in the shadows, like watching her rebel against my parents and kind of taking notes a bit, maybe. But again, like I was kind of like, I didn't question a lot at that time. And Yeah, I mean, I had a happy, lovely childhood. There's nothing to complain about, really. And I don't know. I think that's just maybe an innate thing where I find comfort in being organized, or lining things up and knocking them down type thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And that obviously I kind of bring that into. I still hold on to that. I don't know if that's from my father, my mother. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I was just curious because we all technically, excuse me, clear my throat, are products of our environment or of who raised us, whether we were single parent.
Yeah.
And it's just a curiosity with me. It's not that I'm being nosy. It's just something that interests me.
It might be a little bit of, I mean, if I'm to be introspective or look at, being in the school system, I'm kind of like, show up, get the grades, do the work, do the homework. You have to check all the boxes. You got all the stuff to do in order to succeed. That's what kind of drilled into you, is, or at least how I'm looking at it is, you got to do this. And the next step is, the logical step is this. And then you complete this, you take this test, and then you advance to this. And then you go, from there you go to college. And then college, you have to, get good grades, get a good GPA. And then from there you get a career, so I was kind of just in that machine, the way, looking back, I'm like, so I'm just trying to do the best I can within that, and I wasn't really expanding my horizons or like looking outward, I guess. So I'm kind of like just in the mode, like in the very present of performing or doing doing the task, complete. What's the task? Do the task, finish, complete it as best you can type thing. So maybe it's a conditioning, or maybe it's just a little bit of both, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because it's interesting. I like to see how people react to the way they're raised. I just think it's very interesting. Like, whether you come from a single home or a complete home, it's very interesting just growing up and being an adult and retrospectively looking back on your life and being like, wow, I'm this way regarding this type of thing because this was instilled in me in this age, or I'm this way because I hated the way this was instilled in me.
Right.
Let me fucking get rid of that and be everything but that.
Right. Right.
And I kind of did a little bit of both that personally with both of my parents.
Right.
Like there was things that my mom a large majority of who I am is because of my mother, but there's still valuable stuff that I took from my father. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like, it's funny as an adult, when you're a kid and you're in the thick of it, you're not really realizing half of this shit. We're
not realizing like what you're absorbing and like going to retain for your life. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of cool to like be an adult, look back on it. And I love when I have guests on the show and I just ask them, because how you are raised really defines who you are. And like I said, it's either you're repelling, or going along with it.
It's like your environment. You were in that environment. You are absorbing everything around you.
Yes.
Like I learned this really quick with my kids, is that my daughter, like this was like a eyes wide open moment, but we gave her a camera, and she was like a little tiny kid's camera, and I got to see what she was drawn to by her pictures, her list of pictures, and the fact that she, in my opinion, they were like perfectly framed. And I was like surprised that they weren't like, she was picking up everything, the things that I wouldn't appreciate, or like the little characters or things on like a bag of chips or whatever, she would be, and then I'm like, wow, these kids are just I have to be so careful because these kids are soaking up everything, and they're gaining, or not inspired, but they're, they're paying attention on a hyper level. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's not a bad thing though. Like I said, one of the things that I admire about you is how systematic you are. And I guess I could say you're a perfectionist when it comes to a lot of the things. But I
have been to a degree. Yeah, I have to. Yeah. And that can be a fault as well.
Yes, it can. But I'm one of those guys where I tend to, shine the light on the positives of it. Because I'm a big, I understand. Yeah, I guess I can relate to that more.
Because you beat yourself up. That's part of like what my thing. I was like, if you're not doing it to the best, then you like beat yourself up over the little stuff, and that I can
exactly.
At some point, you gotta like let go a little bit.
Exactly. Prior to you starting graffiti, right? When did you start to recognize what graffiti was, and if you remember and you can recollect, what were some of the artists that you first started to recognize that opened your eyes to the whole culture that you kind of not strive to be, but kind of made you realize, like, I want to be a graffiti artist?
Oh man. Well, first, I guess, even though I live close to Philly, I would see graffiti, and I wasn't really inspired by that graffiti early on. Like it was around me. I was like, but in South Jersey, like there wasn't any graffiti. There might be some highway graffiti or something like that. And Castor was the one name I was seeing. And then I went to college. I went to New Brunswick, and some mutual friends were painting, and that's kind of where like CDC formed through being up in New Brunswick. But yeah, a lot of like at the time, I guess it was FH and MHS and all these people up in like, I guess whatever you want to call it, whether, I heard it the whole time as at Rutgers, oh, this is in South Jersey, or this is South Jersey, this is Central Jersey, Central Jersey doesn't exist, and all this stuff. And so take it for what it is. But I would, that whole area, whoever was painting that whole area was the first wave of my like absorption of graffiti, and then the Style File book, obviously, there wasn't really internet, a lot of stuff on the internet at that time, or, there would be forums, but I was only looking at the New Jersey forum at that time.
What, on 12 ounce?
12 ounce.
That was the best forum, bro.
And then, but yeah, I think that, and then shortly after that, like a lot of those people were also painting freights, or Mayhem. They also had yards in the area that you needed permission to get to, or you needed to know somebody to be able to paint there without getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And so that's where like youth was kind of early on painting freights before me and a lot of the other crew members. And he was friendly with some of the FH dudes, or the dudes who were painting the yard nearest to him. So
when reading those magazines with like the European graph artists and stuff, dude, it was when I was a kid and I was like searching the internet. The one European graph artist that I loved was that dude Dame, Daim.
Oh yeah, big fan.
Dude, that was like one of the first times I got exposed to seeing what 3D quote unquote graffiti looked like, and I was like, what the like the way this shit popped off the fucking wall was like unreal to me.
Yeah, Lumit, I remember that. Wow. Like that, those were all names that were in the Style File books, like heavy, and I was trying to draw. That's probably inspired like more three-dimensional doodles as like a 16, 17-year-old.
Oh man, that shit is insanity.
Yeah.
I got a probably a loaded question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does the word graffiti mean to you?
Oh my.
And what does it internally and personally represent for you in your artistic experience?
Okay, so I guess let me so my artistic experience for me, I consider it like freedom. Like that's on a personal note, I'm trying to be free to express, or free to create or paint or do something outside of the law. It doesn't even matter. Like that doesn't even equate to like the idea of doing it, because I'm not even thinking about that. So I think it's more of just especially relating back to talking about me as a kid and following the rules. The graffiti was just like, no one's telling me what to do. I'm out here just doing whatever I want to do, and I can get away with it, and I'm content doing that. So for me, it's a very personal thing, or was a personal experience of doing. But I think that graffiti can also, it's tagging, it's vandalism, but then it can also be a high art form. It can be branded in corporate America. It's very a big umbrella of a term, the way I consider it. And I think that there is a culture that's been growing there, like a true actual culture that spans the world, but it's also kind of overshadowed by a lot of the corporate stuff and novices who are just getting clout for making Instagram videos or whatever it might be. But there is a deep like vein of true, real writers still, and I'd like to believe that it's still going to continue, but it's kind of sad that it's like there's no graffiti police to like people shit talk each other and like fact check you or depending on like what kind of history you really have in the game, so to speak. That tells the story if you're a real one or not, So that's kind of like how I came to circle back. It's kind of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it to the nth degree. I'm going to do it as best I can, and I'm going to shut this name down. I'm going to come in, I came in like I'm guns blazing, basically. Like I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to do whatever I want to do in my own style. I know everybody's doing wild style, like a certain style at the time, but I was like, I'm just going to focus on fonts. This is what I like. I don't care what anybody says. And just to just drive that home to where people are sick of it. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like the model,
It's safe to say no one is sick of it. You have quite a few fanboys.
Yeah.
You could mop the floor with the saliva coming off their lips.
Oh, please.
Pause. No, really. People, dude, you have a lot of fanboys. They go gaga for the MECRO. And rightfully so. Your work is unbelievable. I remember when I first started seeing your stuff and hearing about it, and our mutual friend, shout out my man, Matt Miller. Mm-hmm. I know you guys went to the same school.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he personally knew you. You did some stuff for him and stuff like that. I'm just like, damn, you know that cat. Because it's like, for me, I love graffiti. I always did growing up, but I was more of a city graffiti guy. So it wasn't until I started getting Freight Train DVDs, like, even seeing stuff in the art of storytelling, but not even that, Sneak Attack. Like that was my first introduction to like real Freight Train graffiti was Sneak Attack Volume 1, Volume 2. And like just seeing the shit, seeing the Tropicana cars, the CSX shit. And I'm just like, it's like a totally new world because I came from a place where I was watching Style Wars religiously. I didn't grow up in New York. And I didn't get to see the subway system like that. Right, so I could just see it from a spectator's view.
Right.
And then sitting there and seeing, damn, cats are getting down on freights too. Like, what even is freights when I was a kid? It's a revenue railroad. And, now that I work on the railroad, it's even funnier. But seeing all that shit and just being amazed at how it is and then finding out your stuff and your name was very interesting to me. Mm-hmm. So I ask all graffiti artists this when I talk to them. What was the first name you ever came up with? Because very rare does a graffiti artist come up with a name that they stick with forever. Usually it's a series. Me personally, I dabbled and I had like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a graffiti writer, but I had a couple that I liked until I stuck with one. For you, what was the first name you started with, if it wasn't MECRO, and how did you come to MECRO, and why? Was it letter structure, certain letters that you favorited, and what?
Yeah, I think, oh my gosh. I mean, just air me out as a toy, bro. Sims was probably the first name, which is SIMS.
Oh, I like that.
It was like an acronym for something I dare not say. And then I think Set, S-E-T, which I know is also a well-known writer. It's always funny because a lot of the toy names that people pick or the intro names are like a well-known name, or they just completely copy somebody's name. It's so funny. But MECRO I kind of made up early on. It was, again, letter structure. I wanted to draw E's for whatever reason. I wanted to like mess with the letter E. I was into photography in high school, so I think there was macro lenses and micro lenses. So I was kind of like, I'll just do MECRO. And and then again, I wasn't painting graffiti then. I was just doodling, and I think I was showing you some black books before we started recording, and
incredible.
And a lot of them, like the stickering was really big back then when I was like in high school and kind of graduating high school, like 2000, 2002. And so I was just drawing and putting on stickers. This was like early stages before I had the balls to go do graffiti or was exposed to other people doing graffiti. I was just doodling,
But that's so on brand for you, who you are and what you represent. You were putting in the reps. You were prepping yourself before going out there. Now, there's nothing wrong with just liking something and going and doing it.
Right.
But I truly, really admire that systematic organization. Like, before you get into something, you're going to really analyze it, figure it out, and try to get the kinks out before you even touch a wall. And I admire that. I really do.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I mean, and also I kind of knew like early on, like even when I started linking with people that were painting graffiti, or even in like a early toy stage, is that the rules are the unwritten rules are, don't be going over people. It was all the unwritten, all the stuff like don't go in the freight yard that you are not welcome in, or there might be other writer. This is other writers' territory, and all this stuff. So, before just jumping into everything, I was like really absorbing. I mean, as I believe people should, what is the ins and outs? What is the unsaid rules and etiquette to a degree, which is funny talking about graffiti, but before just jumping into it and just making a mess of yourself and your career, and basically you could tarnish your whole reputation, which people do. They come in, they'll just write over a next piece or a NACE piece, and they're just a complete toy and they have no idea, and then they'll argue it online, and I've seen that over the years. So it's kind of like the same thing. It's like you just jumped in the deep end and you don't really understand what's going on. So I didn't want to make a big grave mistake like that from the beginning. So yeah, I mean, or at least I tried not to.
Yeah, totally. Now, you started actually painting when you went to school. You went to Rutgers. You went for marine biology, like you mentioned earlier, right? Is that
it's
correct?
Ecology and marine. Yeah, basically ecology and marine science. And I have a minor marine science that I'm not using at all. So, it's, but yeah. So I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No. So that's when you started.
Yeah.
Could you think back, and if you can in detail, explain what it was like for you personally, like especially the fact that you spent all these years prepping, sketching before you even touched a can of paint and hit a wall. What was that first experience like for you when you actually went out for the very first time and got to press down on that can and spray paint on the wall?
Oh man. Well, that probably came in high school. I did spray paint in high school, but I wouldn't consider that the start of my graffiti career. I consider the start when we formed CDC at the end of 2006. So, yeah, I mean, my heart's thumping. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're scared, you're excited, you're like on edge. You're like looking around. It's hard to remember, man. I mean, I was just going around like tagging stuff in South Jersey, like just being a dumbass. So I mean, like, yeah, it's just like an adrenaline rush, basically. That's the first thing you think about. And a lot of people, I think that's, what brings people to bombing the, cities and stuff like that.
So CDC was formed in 2006. Who were the original members?
It was me, Youth, Draft, .M, and Cynic. And shortly after, Coin and Swine joined up. Yeah.
Dude, I love Swine.
Yeah.
Swine, if you're out there. I always loved your shit. Really, I love all CDC, but Swine, there was something about him, like he made me giggle when I saw his pieces.
Yeah.
I love Swine. Swine, you're the best, bro. I really do. I love Swine.
Yeah, he's
the best. So how often were you guys going out in the beginning? And how quickly did it escalate?
Oh, man, so I was drinking a lot back then. And yeah, we were going out pretty often. I mean, again, I'm like trying to do like finals and stuff in college. Like I'm basically on the verge of graduating from Rutgers, and we're also just partying and then just going to paint graffiti.
Double life, like you said.
Yeah, it's just wild. Like, around that time I had a girlfriend of a few years that had broken up with me and broke my heart. And that kind of just amplified and it was a catalyst to even just dive deeper into this. This is something I talked about another friend he said he had his heart broken and then he just dove into graffiti. So it might be a common theme there, but.
Well, women will change your life in more ways than one.
Yeah.
So,
but so it's just funny. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be guessing like a couple nights a week, like not every night, but we were probably going out pretty often and just like, oh, I found an R7 spot. We'd go do a train line spot, or we were still kind of doing highway spots and train line spots. And I was kind of late to doing the freight thing, even until I graduated and moved back to South Jersey. Like I I didn't really paint freights up in North Central Jersey until I moved back to Philly. I moved after I graduated. I had a summer job, but then I moved back to Philly and was living in Philly and between Philly and South Jersey, and that's where I started connecting the dots with me and Sexes and Mayans, and we started painting a lot. That's when I really started to find our own spots to settle into,
Yeah, that's something I was curious about because like I told you, me growing up, I was, both of my parents were from Patterson, so they both grew up there, and I had grandparents still there. So I was always in and out of the hood, Newark, Patterson. I got to see, that's where you predominantly saw it, right. 280, 80, stuff like that. And the graffiti on freights was something that I never really got exposed to, as I consider it it's kind of niche, and it requires a lot of work, as we mentioned before when we were talking before the podcast. To get into freight graffiti, even to just bench and view it, requires knowledge, requires research. So since you started painting walls and train lines, which is most people start, what was it that got you into actually painting freights, and what was that entire process like for you?
Oh man, I think that I think the initial lure into that world is the fact that it travels, that it would not just be local. I can't just paint the suburbs of South Jersey and the highways without, having the state police after me or whatever. So I think it was the idea that I could continually paint without throwing up red flags for where I'm doing it at, and these things can travel and have a national reputation, obviously. I mean, have more recognition on not just a local scale. I'm not just trying to paint my city over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I can continue to paint, have a longevity mindset and continue to create work that's also traveling the country. I think that a lot of those early DVDs, when I was seeing, was like Reefer Madness and Infamy and
wow, the best.
Jace's section in Infamy, which we talked about. That just was like, I was like, that feels right. That seems like where I want to be. And that seems like my pocket,
I love that. Like, you brought that big box here today. And as soon as I saw that Infamy DVD, it was sitting next to a Star Wars, which I used to go to sleep with when I was a kid. But the Infamy one really struck me because I loved that movie. I loved Kunle's part, Ear Snot.
Yeah.
Loved Revs. And the Jace part is just
the Revs.
Unbelievable.
Revs big inspiration.
Revs is a fucking savage. I just love his attitude. It's very punk rock.
Yeah.
Very against the grain. But the Jace part for sure is like, that dude is so important. I don't think he's talked about enough. And I know that you're a huge fan of that dude.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I know you were going to lead into talking about the R's or whatever, and that was an inspiration for that, is that he's just, found a way to spread his name way quicker and easier. And that was like, that clicked with me too. I was like, this makes sense. If you're facing hundreds of thousands of freights that you're having to tackle to try and make a name for yourself, it's genius to have some type of, in my opinion, it's genius to have some type of quick, low usage of paint,
totally,
like application of your name or symbol, essentially, that is then doing the work for you, and you can do so much work in one visit and still spread the name with just a small little symbol or version of yourself. It's not a tag; it's like something else. It's an in between, which I thought was very clever.
Yeah, totally,
and all credit to him. Big inspiration.
Oh yeah, he's a fucking legend, man. Savage. One thing I'm curious about, when you first started getting into freight graffiti, I personally never painted a freight. Anything I've ever done, which was very minuscule, was on a wall. Now, there's a big difference between painting a freight train. For those that are watching that aren't graffiti enthusiasts or have zero knowledge of the culture, this is the reason why I'm asking it, to make them understand more. When you paint a wall, a brick wall, or whatever the case may be, concrete is very porous, and it absorbs paint at a completely different rate than a metal panel would on a freight train would. So What was the transition like for you? Because clearly, as you just mentioned, you started painting on walls and train lines and stuff. When you finally started to get to paint freights, how much adjustment did you have to personally make when it comes to can control and all that stuff? Because it's going to drip different, it's going to drip quick, and it's going to absorb at a faster rate, or a slower rate rather.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, like looking back, it's just like the original thing is just the bumps, the ridges, the bars, like all that is like
all those bolts
that
and shit.
turns people off. Like that's why people are like, I'm just gonna go paint a hopper or paint like a reefer because they're smooth. But yeah, or just being in a weird stance, you can't step back. You can't step back. In a lot of places, it's dark, it's pitch black. We're not using lights. We're in the pitch black, basically painting, and you can't step back. So yeah, and that's reflected in a lot of early work. Is you can tell the letters are wonky or things are, you run out of paint or you can't go. You don't go big enough. Like you misjudge how big you should go. You know, a lot of scale is another thing. And that's lost on a lot of people and in photos, especially like if you'll see things in person roll by, people are like, holy shit, like these are, especially like a whole car or something, but just a panel's a big enough area to paint, and it takes plenty of paint. So it's kind of, basically every time you're going out, like I was just doing what I consider like a stomper, like which is what you do on a highway, which people would see, but you're doing that every single time you're going out. Like every single freight it's like a massive, massive piece. Yeah. And, or at least the way we were trying to paint them, where you don't want to just, typically we would try and, later years it would be like, you have a whole panel to yourself. No one's going on the door because that's stupid to fit 3 people. And then I'll go on the other side, but other years or earlier years, we're having like 2 guys on one panel, or whatever. And you're kind of just trying to get everybody to fit together on the car, but it's so silly. And that's kind of like one of the things that like Trey was like, I can like hear him being like, dude, fuck, like he would just go so big, and that kind of blew, seeing that in person in the flesh, like that just like amplified like what I knew to be true. Like it kind of changed my paradigm as to like this scale and like the possibilities we can push this even at like an incremental level, you know what I mean? Like even looking back then I can kind of see my graffiti like take a jump in scale and style, obviously, because I'm like, absorbing a lot of his stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, to answer your question, a lot of it's just like the ridges, the bumps, and navigating that and making it legible and, all that stuff. And getting, like you said, getting used to the darkness, getting used to even the fright, like, because there could be railroad workers. There could be guys coupling up to trains next to you. You don't know. There's danger. Yeah, a lot of danger. There's tons of danger. Mm-hmm. There's probably way more danger in freight train graffiti than painting a fucking highway, clearly. Besides, like the highway, what do you got to worry about? Being spotted and cops, right? But in the freight, I'm a railroader, so I know. Mm-hmm. Like a fucking set could couple up to the train you're fucking painting, slam, and if anybody's ever been out there, it's fucking loud when a train couples up. Yeah, it's not, and this is thousands of pounds just moving in front of your fucking face. Yeah, it's fucking scary shit. Yeah, I've had a lot of scary shit happen to me out there. Yeah, it's you got to be so careful. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever painted a train and something coupled up onto it while you were painting it? Multiple times, yes. Oh, man. Yeah. Or it just airs up and rolls out and you're like, oh, no. So that's what's unique about freights too, is because they're very long consists. You could have a 40 car consist, right? And they need to move it now. So they're going to hook an engine up on the west end to it. Right. Bang, but that slack will trickle throughout the entire 40 car set, and you're like, oh my god. Yeah. Or I start painting a train, and I think it's like not connected to anything, and then the line's so long, and then all of a sudden it just starts creeping away, and I'm like, oh no. So it's like I've had all of it happen. It's crazy. Of course, but I guess that's the thrill of it. It's like the you're entering the realm of the unknown. Oh man, you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like, and then you start like again, it's like what you're saying, like being calculated, and then you go, okay, well that happened at this time, so let me get in there at 8, and And then that won't happen, or hopefully it doesn't happen. If it happens at 8, then I'll go to 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you start to like, or you figure out the patterns of the schedule or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about painting freights is, like I mentioned earlier, there's so much more into it than the eye can see. Like there's a lot of research required. Like what kind of cars are in those yards? Who's predominantly paints in those yards? Can I get in there? How do I get in there? What are the shifts like for the railroad workers? Like how did you get accustomed to that stuff?
A lot of that is just by trial and error. I mean, you're out there learning it by doing it, by being boots on the ground type thing. So, yeah, it's not like there's some almanac or a one friend that knows, that's why when you go to a new city, you want to link with somebody that's respectable or like somebody vouched for them and you know that they're not a knucklehead and they know their way around the yard, they're a veteran or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Because that just saves you all the hassle. It just saves you, because I know that by my own local spots. So I know that if I go to another city, there's going to be a whole other. Maybe this yard's patrolled and I have no idea. Maybe this, it looks good and looks calm, but maybe there's something else going on, So, and linking with other writers that we respect or that I'm friends with, like they're just going to save you all that headache and you just kind of like have a fun time, versus just like stressing. The same thing. I go through years of stressing, getting chased or having something roll out or whatever it may be. Or this spot's too hot, we can't go there anymore. This guy got arrested there, whatever. They're watching this other spot and, whatever it might be. And so it's like you start to fall into a pattern of like what works, what doesn't work, what days to go, what days not to go,
Yeah, no, totally. It's like I said, I work for the railroad and we share a yard with Norfolk Southern, so I get to see all these beautiful pieces like on a daily basis. So, which is when I found that early piece of yours from like 2008, 2009, which was wild to see that it's still fucking running to this day.
Yeah.
But I always found, like we were talking about earlier, I always found there is something romantic about painting a train as opposed to a wall, because they're not going to necessarily buff the freight car that easy, unless you're covering the identification markers, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Usually that'll make them like indefinitely, they're going to fuck your piece up.
Yeah.
But there's something romantic about it literally traveling the country and the chances of it getting touched are slim to none. Whereas if you're going to paint Route 80 or Route 46, they're going to buff that very quick, but afraid it's going to live because the public isn't really going to see it. And there's something special about that. And I love just entering a yard and looking up because these things are giants and you're there. And especially when you're in between two rows of cars, especially at night, there's something about at night because all these yards have those spotlights. And it shines like over it and you get this shadow effect and you get to see just these giants next to you, these powerful metal giants with this art gallery. You just walk for miles and just see this beautiful shit. It's definitely more poetic and romantic than any wall could ever be, in my personal opinion. Yeah,
it's something eerily romantic about it where you're out and it's quiet. It's like you're like where I am, it's usually like there's nature and you're not hearing much other than birds and other sounds, things creeping in the night. But yeah, it's also like, it's kind of personal. You're there. It's like, I don't know. It's just like a detachment from society to a degree. It's like you're, know, a little peace of mind, especially if you're with a good friend or a couple friends and you're all just having a good time and having a drink and just, or not, and just chilling and just trying to do something new and have fun and just bullshit. It's just kind of like a way to blow off steam.
Absolutely. Is there any particular set of colors or shades that you prefer than others that you really enjoy painting with?
No, I don't think so.
You're all over the place?
I mean, I think for a long time it's like black outline. Whatever it is, it's got to have a black outline or a bold white outline. Usually I wouldn't mess with like multiple colored outlines because I'm thinking of like, I'd always in the back of my mind, I guess I have like this, it has to be bold. It has to be very legible from like a mile away. Like that was kind of usually like my MO. So I would be, I wouldn't like, I guess. I mean, I don't really lean towards any colorway or whatever. I guess my main thing is I have like a vibe. So it's usually I have a checklist of different themes I would like to do, because if I'm keeping the name, I'm not doing anything that's like super graffiti funky. I'm doing a very straightforward font. I have to make it fun in some way, some new way. So I'm always experimenting with that. So whatever the color palette would bring me, like if it's gooey or green or whatever, then I would do that. But the next week I could do something that's like chopped up and it's like red and white. It doesn't, just depends on whatever vibe I'm going for, I guess.
Yeah, no, I got you. And that's one thing about you that's special, is how diverse you are with not only your letter structure, but your color palette. I was just curious personally if there was ever when you painted like a certain color scheme, you were like, oh, I enjoy doing this.
Well, like the one picture we were looking at with is like a sunset, that was, that's a personal favorite of mine too. And it was on a really nice car. It like worked well. It had it was like a nice old vintage blue car. And then it had a sunset fill with a very simple white outline. Stuff like that I geek on. I think that's just kind of cool. People would argue if it's graffiti or not, or if it's like it's
beyond my opinion.
It's a font, but yeah, again, just a one-off idea I had, just having fun, just making it up as I go.
That's that's what I always loved about your artwork, is sometimes it's not that you couldn't do severely wild style complex things. It was that when you chose to do those very simplistic straight letter structures, but your fill was so complex that it just brought it to life in a way that, when I view a lot of other freight train graffiti artists, they don't speak to me. And specifically that sunset piece, it's just like, it brought it to, another height that I never even knew could be achieved. And it really, like when I look at your sunset piece, that fill-in is just the beautiful blues, the hues of purple and yellow and orange. You really feel like you're being taken to like an ocean sunset, but you're just fucking looking at a freight car. It's crazy to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's also funny because I think about that, like the night I did that specific, I can almost remember a lot of these cars. It's very funny. I have like a shoddy memory, but some of these cars I can remember like very to detail, like the night where we were, what happened. It's funny. It's just like locked away. But for that one, I remember having like two shades of like a certain moss green or like and a mango, and I was like, this just pushed it over the top. Like that, if I didn't have those two, it wouldn't be as good, if that makes sense. Like I was like, it needed those mixed in, which even at the time when I was creating it, I was just like, I could probably not use these. I'm bringing too much paint. This is not, I don't need this.
Yeah.
But, and then at the end, I'm like, oh, that makes all the difference,
Jesus. One of the things that I love most about your work is your understanding of the fundamentals of light. And, I think that the understanding of that is crucially important when you're painting graffiti, especially when you're painting stuff that's in kind of that like 3-dimensional space. How long did it truly take you to grasp the true concept and the fundamentals of light when painting light and shadow and stuff? And was there ever a moment where it was like an aha moment for you, were like, I finally fucking get it now?
It's a really good question. I think that for whatever reason, I was always doing stuff on the, imagine the light source from like top left coming down. And a lot of my pieces are that way. I mean, I think a lot of people do that. And I realized like the aha moment I had in relation to that was that I did a sign painting class with Mike Myers. And almost always he's saying the light source should come from the upper left and the 3D goes down to the right, and I would always find that aesthetically for, not knowing anything about graphic design or anything of that world, that was the most appealing to my eye. And I think a lot of other people would agree. That might even be like an industry rule. I don't know. But I think that, that just always felt right. Sometimes I'd mix it up and do it the other way. And then I'd look at it and be like, it doesn't have the same appeal. It seems more natural for whatever reason from that angle. I mean, but I don't know if somebody could call me out on that if that's not true. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, and I think it was a natural progression to like dive into like more 3-dimensional shading, layers of color. It, like, you know, you have the spray can is a locked, you can't really mix it with anything else. So unless you're blending two colors that are similar together, you can't really get that 3D effect, obviously. But it's, I would play with the idea of like very sharp, no blending. You know, even though I had the capability to blend two colors together, I would still just like as a bevel or whatever, it would just be solid color, no shading. Even though you had the capability to shade it, it would almost like amplify it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a stark, clean line. Everything's clean line. There's no blending at all. And that almost makes it more of like a sticker, more of a shock value, you know. And then, you know, I've also done it where it's more of a blended bevel or like a chromatic bevel. So I was always like tweaking and playing with that. And there was a lot to play with and a lot of colors to mess with in that, or have like a double, like almost like a railroad bevel or whatever it might be. And it's just always me like just adapting and playing or improving on what I did before. So.
No, that's probably one of the most poetic and beautiful things that I've ever experienced. Witnessing your work is that seeing your stuff, your early stuff from 2008, 2009, the immediate jump from a year ahead is how fast you learned and how quick of a grip and a knack you had for this shit, especially your understanding of light. Like even something simplistic like just a two-tone bevel, but the message and the effect it conveyed, like literally the stuff that you're painting is literally like somebody put a 3-dimensional sculpture and threw it on the fucking wall. Like your understanding of light is ethereal, if I'm even using the correct terminology. Like it's just mind-boggling, the shit you did.
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, it's just more of like, I just consider a lot of reps, a lot of trial and error, you know, doing things and be like, oh, that didn't hit the mark. You know, you know, over analyzing my own work, you know, not really looking at other people's work, but like going out, you know, usually we paint like 2 or 3 panels a night. And then I'd come back, look at the flicks and be like, oh man, I missed a spot, or this is not blended, or whatever it might be. And then that just like sets the bar for next time out. Like I'm going to, this would look better in pinks, you know, or whatever it might be. And then I'd always tweak and like tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak, and then keep going, like keep like just refining it, you know, every single time we were out. And that was appealing to me. I like doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, and then I'd get to a point where I'm like, I feel like this is as good as it can get. And then maybe I'd shift gears into like some other type of vibe, or maybe something more like just easy peasy, like as Trey would call it, like a softie, like a big fat dumb font, cartoon font, you know, with no real effects at all, or just a blend or whatever. Just put stars and graffiti stuff on top of it, you know. And it just depends on how I'm feeling, you know. So
yeah,
no pressure. I would just try to take the pressure off myself, you know.
No, that's what's incredible about you though, is like originality. And I think that's something that lacks in a lot of graffiti artists. Not to say that they're not good at what they do or they're not incredible, but is that this is the big word, is complacency is huge in graffiti. I think people just get very comfortable in a certain spot and just replicate that same style that works for them. And they're too scared to go out of their comfort zone, to challenge themselves, to reinvent themselves and just do something innovative. Whereas for you, if anybody that knows graffiti, anybody that knows freight train graffiti, they could look at your fucking timeline over the course of 10, 15, because you're going on 20 years now of painting, and they could see how much your style has evolved, how intelligent your style has gotten, and just the quality of the work not only got better, but different and original. And I think that just, the work speaks for itself, and it just speaks on your intelligence overall and how much you've evolved.
Thanks, Al. I appreciate that.
I'm a Pisces with you.
I love it.
I'm an emotional guy.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think that, you know, and especially looking back at it, it's what do I say? I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of just tells its own story of where I am mentally. It's not like, or what I'm feeling in the moment, in that night, in that day. Like it's more of like a journal entry, you know, to quote like a Rick Rubinism, but it's like every time I'm going out, I'm not just going to like put out numbers. It's like the fact, like I'm already out here doing it.
Yeah.
So the numbers will add up over time. I might as well have fun with what I'm like. If you're not having fun in the moment of doing it, then why are you doing it? And so, and I'm trying to test myself, I'm trying to do better every time. So if if I have a funny idea or a weird idea, then I'm just going to, who cares? Like no one really cares. Like if there's a bad MECRO piece rolling around, then whatever. Like I'm probably the one that cares the most. Like nobody's really going to lose sleep over it, other than the person who did it. So I think that, again, like when I first started out and I was doing a lot of stuff or not first started out, but when 2009, probably when I really started to paint a lot, I had a checklist. I had like a list next to my rack of paint that was just like cheese, bevel, slime, like whatever it was. You know what I mean? I was like, so it was always like,
the cheese.
Yeah, it's like whatever it would be. And I would just like, let me see this out. And then I could easily go out and just fail at that. I could, but like it was, if I had, and I'm painting murals at the same time, I'm doing this and murals. And then it's just like, they're all kind of informing each other. If I'm doing a Candyland mural for some lady, and then I'm like, wow, I can just do this as a font, So it's just like, I was just trying to be at play, basically, and just have fun with what I'm putting out. Like, yeah, I'm not trying to just, there's a stamping aspect to it, but I guess that's where the R kind of came in. But obviously I could at any time just do a black and white MECRO of a straight up font at any time I felt like, and I would do that. I would just be like, oh, I'm tired of doing all this crazy stuff. Let me just do a black and white MECRO with a red R, and then that became like a thing for a little while. So and that's where the R kind of popped out of that whole idea, So
yeah, what I think is important is you're doing this for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Attention, obviously, when people do graffiti, obviously you want to be noticed. So that's clear. Everybody wants to have some sort of recognition. But the overall drive behind what you did, in my opinion, and from my observation, I'm sure everybody listening, it's clear from your testimony that you did this really for yourself. And that's what makes your work not only good, what makes everything beautiful is because you didn't do this for others. You did this because you genuinely enjoyed it. And the work fucking speaks for itself, how you constantly evolved and just you were discovering yourself through your art.
Right. And especially now, like I can look back at it as I make gallery work studio work, and I can understand better myself and like what I am to the core, like what I like to do. Like by looking at my graffiti, I understand that I don't like to be boxed into like one certain thing. I like to like dabble and like experiment and like learn new things and apply them. And, I'm not afraid to fail or fall on my face and regroup and just do something new and change it up. So, and I think that's served me. And I'm content with what I've created and what I've done. Even if I'm to stop today, like I'm content with what I've done, and I could always do more. It change. You get to a point where I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm like, not so thirsty or not so hungry to prove anything to myself or anybody. I've never really felt like I had to prove I guess starting out, I felt like I had to prove something to everybody else. That was kind of like the fuel, to go out and prove some shit to everybody else. Like I can do this. Like I could do what these people are doing. And now, as that went on, it was more proving it to myself. And now I'm more like, I don't have anything to prove to myself. Like I feel content in what I've made. So why keep beating a dead horse if I'm happy with what I made,
Yeah. So we've mentioned a couple of times tonight about your signature, the upside down R.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive in fully real quick. It's one of the most iconic symbols in graffiti as a whole. Whenever I think of graffiti and I think of just symbols that really represent the culture and anything about it, I think of the upside down R. Maybe because I'm biased because I know you, but it's such an iconic symbol.
Mm-hmm.
How did you originally come about that? And you already said it was inspired by Jace, but I'd like to just dive into a full detailed description on why that even took place.
Yeah, let me think. I think that, in the CDC book, I went into this like we were talking about earlier. And it kind of, it was, I think that at first I started to flip the R as, I'm painting fonts and I'd flip the R because when I was living in Philly, people would flip the A. So there'd be I don't know, maybe Care was the first one to flip the A. I don't know. Somebody can fact check me on that, which is probably what I said in the book too. But I was seeing a flipped A in Philly. So I started to flip the R and was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but I would keep it upright. I wouldn't have it TikToked or anything like that. So that was probably the first idea where it came from. So I was just, during that year, I was probably just doing black and white fills. Like on cars, it was like black and white and red. It was like kind of all we were doing. I think we had racked a bunch of black and white. So it was like black and white for a long time. And, so that's kind of where the R came from. And then when I went to Minneapolis, or as itself within the MECRO piece, I guess. And then I went to Minneapolis 2010 for a trip and was hanging out with like the TCI dudes in Alamo. And he was shortly put down after that with CDC. And I was realizing, man, there's a lot of trains out here. I should probably do something to like spread it, touch more of these trains. And that's when I started doing I did a few then, but it was just, and then when I came home, I really started to like do more and more upside down R's, but they were all like very upright, not like tilted.
Yeah, not tilted like you normally do.
So yeah, again, it was like, it was kind of like, wasn't just like a brilliant idea. Aha, like I'll just be like have like a logo,
Yeah.
It just became like it adapted over time. And as I started to do pieces and tilt, I started to tilt the font back and then still keep the upside down R. So then the R was tilted back with the piece, obviously. And then I was just doing slightly tilted R's. Yeah, it's funny to think about. But again, it was also inspired by Jason, the fact that you could just, I could do 2-3 panels a night and then spend the rest of my paint doing like 6 of them or 7 of them or whatever it would, exhaust the rest of my bag. And then that's just 6 or 7 more freights that have my little stamp on it. So yeah, I just thought it was cool. It was fun, and I would you could slide them into like weird spots, like on wood cars, like the lumber cars would have nothing to paint on them except those end panels. And I would do a number of them. I was like, I don't know where these are going, but I'm just gonna crush both sides of it. And then people were benching those, so it was like, people were picking up whatever they can, and I'm pleasantly surprised that people are seeing those, when they're not covered by lumber. So
yeah, of course,
get in where you fit in.
No, it's as iconic as a fucking Coca-Cola or Pepsi symbol, as far as I'm concerned.
Get out of here, bro.
No, it is, man. In the graffiti world. 110%. You ever paint, the one cars that I look at every day when I'm at work or in the yard is the fucking dumpster cars. Yeah. Those are a fucking nightmare. And you see you see a lot of these jerk offs paint those fucking things. I'm assuming you never paint those.
You talking about the green ones, like the little container green ones?
Super rigid dumpster cars. They just carry garbage.
Yeah.
Super deep fucking ridges. It's like impossible it's not impossible to paint them, but it's very difficult.
I'm not picky. I would paint anything. I would try to make it work. And yeah, you get some cars that have like a 2 foot, or not 2 foot, but like the
garbage cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Well, there's a lot of cars that have like crazy ridges on them.
Crazy.
And I'd just be like, I'll try and make it work, try and do it. But yeah, pain in the ass for sure.
What's your favorite style of car to paint on?
Oh man, for a long time I liked the Cryotrans cars. Any of the reefers, obviously, it's like fun to do, and they got really cool logos. So it's kind of cool to do a piece like below it
and have the logo exposed.
Yeah. That's kind of where you geek out a little bit, but I'm not picky,
Yeah, no, I get you. Does the graffiti realm keep you grounded mentally? Almost as like an escape to balance you out, or is it the form of expression that it lets you release that an art gallery or a paid mural could never fulfill?
That's a really good question. I think that again, like kind of what we chatted about earlier, it's like a freedom aspect where even when I was painting fonts, or a lot of my friends would be like, "No, just mix it up, do something more like funky letters or something this time around," and I'd be like, "Nah, just this is my time to do what I want to do." Like even the pressure from a direct crewmate, I would still be like, can we just match colors and I'll just do a font? like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, again, man, it's just kind of like a freedom aspect where, you know, I'm very specific with the use of my time. So it's like, if I'm out here to do something, I might as well enjoy it rather than force something to happen. Like, it seems counterintuitive to be out here doing something to impress somebody else in the dark while I have like a different idea in the back of my mind as to what I want to execute. Like, I should probably be out here just doing what I feel called to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I've brought that mindset and that, like, not listening to anybody else around me and trying to just listen to what I feel called to do into my own studio work and that's been the push and pull that I'm experiencing now with a lot of mural work, is where I'm kind of having a little bit of a difficult time, like, navigating what I think is cool and what would work for somebody or a brand versus like what they need to have it include. And that's been a real tug of war the last few years with me. And this year I kind of like reeled back, or like the last year and a half, like reeled back and tried to like figure that out a little better, but on a professional level. So I'm doing that a lot now with my studio work, where I am trying to follow my intuition as to like what to create, you know, and what I feel pulled to make without any idea of like who's going to like it or where it's going to sell. Like, I just want to create freely, you know,
yes.
like as like, or with experimentation, kind of the same way. And I'm seeing that echoed in my graffiti to look back. Like, I'm seeing that as where, yeah, I'm not afraid to like do something different every time I go out, or every time I'm, you know, there's no restrictions other than what I put on myself. So why, you know, otherwise it's just me in my own head about it. So
interesting. Yeah. In 2008, you created Gloss Black, rather.
Oh, how dare you?
Excuse me. The story behind that, to my understanding, is very interesting, as you ended up turning Gloss Black into something else than its original intention, and with a partner.
Yeah.
So if you could, I'm really interested on this story and how Gloss Black got formed.
So I was working a desk job in Center City, Philadelphia. It was a horrible desk job. And all the while I'm drawing fonts. I was really heavy into, you know, I'm painting graffiti at this time, kind of getting into like mural work. I'm basically painting daycares. I'm like advertising on Craigslist to try and get any type of mural work, you know, on the side for like cash. And, you know, I had an idea where I was like, hey, I'm drawing up like full fonts, like full on sellable fonts, but I had no capability of like digitizing it because I wasn't in that. I wasn't educated on that stuff. I don't know how to do it. So my friend Daiji was like, hey, we'll work together. We'll try and get this going. We'll make like a little design firm, you know, it'll be fun, or whatever we wanted to call it. And we had a discussion as to, what should we call it? It's the same thing like when you make a business or like some type of like thing, like your podcast, like what do you call it? What are we going to name it? You know, you can go through all these names. And I think one night we were just chatting about whether flat black is better, as flat black Rust-Oleum is better, or gloss black is better, you know, and I'm like, dude, gloss black all the way. Like I'm always using it. Like it's like a staple. Like that's my outline color. So gloss black just seemed like an easy, the obvious answer to just call ourselves that. And that was, the idea was to create fonts to then sell. But at all the same time, I was doing murals, and he kind of did some murals up in North Jersey as well. And the murals just took over, you know, very quickly. And then I didn't have time to follow that idea. But that was the original idea behind Gloss Black as like a business.
Do you remember the first jobs that you got when you started, and was it an easy transition for you from the graffiti realm to the mural world?
The absolute first job I got as a mural was, we were painting there's a wall in Camden right on like Federal Street, or right off Federal Street, and it basically backs up to a well-known roller rink in the area. And we would just go there every weekend. A lot of those photo books I was showing you have that. And one of the owners came out and was like, "Hey, you guys paint murals, we need like a Las Vegas theme in here. And I was just like, yeah, I'll try. I'll do it, or I'll go look at it and see what's up. And that was the first job I had. I probably charged them like next to nothing, and I did the whole entire ring. I did the whole entire inside, and I spent like so much time there. But that was the first job, and then a lot of the jobs, I was like, you know what, this could be some extra cash in my pocket, and I started to advertise on Craigslist in Philly and be like, I got a lot of daycare work, other roller rinks. That rink kind of led to other roller rinks. I was doing restaurants and other odd jobs and things like that. But it was kind of like, that was the building blocks. And then, of course, the Wonderland smoke shops. I think there's a lot up here, but I think there's one in Philly, but not the one in Philly. There's a chain of them in Jersey, and I painted like almost every single one of them. So
really,
if you see like, there's like, they're all green on the inside, and then they have like some fantasy, crazy, trippy stuff. And the dude Gene at the time, he was like, just go wild, just go do whatever you want.
Jesus.
So those were keeping me afloat as well. All the while I'm working a day job, working a desk job in Center City. So
Jesus Christ. The interesting thing about mural work that the casual admirer probably doesn't understand is the mathematics involved. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is figuring out scale, how much paint is needed for a job, how big's the wall, things like that. Now, what about murals do you find the most challenging, as well as joy during certain aspects of it that you can give me?
I think for me, the most challenging aspect has been adapting what I think would be cool to what the client thinks would be cool. So the give and the take when it comes to the design phase has always been like a little bit of a struggle, or not so much a struggle, but some people are understanding and want you to do your own thing and be free and create because they have trust in you. And then other people are very restricted and very wanting to see everything beforehand, and everything has to be by the book. It's very corporate and things like that. So that's up until today, even still, is the back and forth is like, I always, and that's because I'm realizing that I'm creating something that is for them. It's not that they're coming from me for original artwork to put on a wall as public art. I'm making the distinction now that, a lot of what I'm making, I have to agree to relinquish control or relinquish a lot of the not a lot, but some of the artistic merit to them in order to find like that middle zone, and the more I've grown, the more it's been a little bit tricky for me to navigate that back and forth, because I feel pulled to be like, to do my own thing more and more and more. So, but the enjoyable part of it is physically being out there painting. Like, that's what I love to do. I love to be outdoors and to be spraying paint or like brushing on paint. Like that's the part where I get to be free and geek on, and support my family. That's how I make a living. So
how hard was it figuring out like how much paint you needed for certain jobs?
Oh, still.
How long was that learning curve?
It's still, I mean, even like I said, we just painted that giant building in Rahway, and I totally underestimated how much paint that took. And that's just last month or a couple months ago. So,
so that must require like adjustment, obviously price adjustment, and they must have an understanding of that.
Yeah. Or I'd just do the right thing and just eat it a little bit. And just, we for that specific job, they had it capped, you know what I mean? So I couldn't wiggle too much on what the price was. Unless they wanted to add on stuff, and then we can add on, because it wasn't agreed upon. But if I'm out there and I bought half the amount of paint that I need, and then I'm like, shit, man, I got to spend another $2,000 on whatever paint. It is what it is, but it's just get it done. You know what I mean? So
the reason why I even think about that is because I remember I had a specific conversation with Distort, our mutual friend, and he did this huge mural one day, which he does many of, and they're beautiful, powerful and emotional pieces. And I remember he was telling me this story, how he priced out this wall, but he had, Cedar. He had Cedar there helping him out. just as like, you always employ other people to help you paint because it just helps make the job quicker and easier. And he said that he had him there, and then he had made some realizations like, oh, you need this amount of paint, this much, And I didn't realize like how much mathematics could be involved and like how crucial that could be to not only the job, but the price of the job. So just hearing that interaction and how he had to navigate through that difficult situation, that's what makes me think of it. And that's why I asked you that.
Yeah. Or like the, I'd fly places and I'd have to order paint and fly, or, have the paint shipped there and then anticipate going there, renting a car, going to Home Depot or going to Sherwin or whatever, and going to get the paint. And then, it's like, it's an added difficulty, especially if you're out traveling. We had a massive job in Tampa, and the biggest job I've ever had, honestly, at the Motor Enclave. And for that, we had so much paint, but we decided to buy it all when we got down there. So we needed so much paint as soon as we got down there that we were going to Depot, Sherwin. We were making sure that, because people are like, this is a lot of paint. I'm like, it's a huge wall, rather than, because I decided to drive down with all the other gear, and then just all the other gear and the tricks of the trade. And, and I had somebody in the car. So I was like, we can't bring all the paint down. We might as well just go get it while we're there. And then we had all the spray shipped there. So it's logistics. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And people usually just see the end product and they're like, wow, that looks easy, So
no, far from. That's another thing I wanted to ask, because obviously you're spraying, but you're also using regular paint. You're rolling and stuff like that to cover larger areas. Mm-hmm. When you do a mural, what's the percentage, if you could quickly figure out mathematically, what's the percentage of regular paint you're using as opposed to actually spraying on the product?
For those bigger jobs, usually I'm trying to do everything with exterior paint versus spray paint, because some of the spray can just fade over time. That's just the way it is. So I try, especially for like really bright colors like oranges, pinks, yellows, like I'll make sure that that's not spray painted on, because even any type of spray paint brand tends to fade, as I know from painting graffiti. It's like it will fade over a couple of years quick, versus, something that's meant or like an exterior latex or even like an oil paint will last the test of time longer or better, if it's like a vibrant color. And then on top of that, you can add clear coats that are UV protectant.
Interesting. So do you think the reason why the spray doesn't last as long, is it because of the way the disbursement or the distribution of the paint comes out of the cap or the atomizer, if you will, as opposed to actually painting it on? It just changes the chemistry of the paint.
It might have to do with like the tints. Maybe I'm not an expert on that. I think that it might have to do with those. It all depends, because even some that are like teals, they'll fade in a weird way. So it all depends on the company making it. I'm obviously a fan of Montana's stuff, but they put on the can if it fades over time. There's a marker on there, and it'll show you if it's has a very solid sun strength or UV protection, or if it'll fade. And I like that, but even using Rusto, I know that that'll fade too. So my best bet is just to find some quality exterior paint that's just,
interesting.
And I try and use like that instead of using a yellow that's a spray, or an orange that's a spray, or a hot pink that'll just fade almost instantly.
So the spraying, I assume, is for the hyper details, and you're using the rollies or the regular paintbrush for the larger coverage. Yeah,
but those are we're just talking about like the bigger murals. A lot of the stuff that I've done, like corporate buildings, like almost all of it's spray. So I'm spraying. The flip side of that is that I'm dumping like enamel with high VOC like into a building where people are working. And people have asked me to be like, hey, can you just brush paint this? I'm like, that doesn't, like, my specialty is to spray paint. Like, this is what I'm good at. If it's not going to be the same if I brush paint this whole thing. Like,
no.
So it needs to be, and I don't really like the water-based stuff anyway. So it's just kind of told them, turn your HVAC off and we'll just go to town and it'll smell for a day or two. And then you have a mural for, the rest of your life. One
thing you mentioned Montana, and obviously that's, I guess you could say, the industry standard when it comes to the graffiti world, as well as the fine art world. I've had artists that I've made side projects and dioramas with. They've used Montana as well because I could pick the colors, and you actually helped me that one time. If you remember that pistachio green color.
Oh, nice.
The curiosity is you're sponsored by Montana. For any aspiring graffiti artists out there, I'm very interested in how that process even happened for you and how you even got into it.
Well, I guess I'd say I'm more of like a friend to friend with them. Like they support me, I support them. And, I don't think it's like an official sponsorship to be completely fair, but, I was upfront with them like years back. I'm painting murals. Like, hey, I brought to their attention, this is what I paint on trains. And this is, I'm also painting murals. I could easily promote this for you. And I think I actually spoke with Jace early on. He was like, yeah, we're into it, but you should have a certain type of following first. And at that time I didn't have, my Instagram. I didn't have an Instagram related to graffiti at all. So I was like, all right. So I started Instagram and hit a certain amount of followers. And then they were like, fast. And then we were just off to the races. So, and shout out to Angelo at Montana. Like he flew me out there. I got to meet them and the team. Like I painted out there, took me out to lunch. Like we were just, so I got to meet them and, make friends with all those good dudes, and they're super cool. And I love their product, honestly. Like, and it's all I use, when it comes to spray paint for the most part. Yeah, but I forget was there another part of that question?
No, you answered it completely.
Yeah.
That stuff just interests me. I was just trying to like plug in people that, that are aspiring graffiti artists that want to know how to get sponsored and what it would take. Obviously your work spoke for itself. You put in a lot of years, a lot of work, and all you had to do was make a fucking Instagram, and all these fucking fanboys went.
Even that's like the Instagram thing. I resisted for a long time, but it's at the time I was, this seems like the next logical step. I think about my decisions before I just jump into it. And I was
systematic.
This seems like the right time to do this, and it was. I feel like I'm happy with that. It's very odd. It's because when I started doing graffiti, it was just like stay in the shadows, don't show anybody your face, don't let them know anything about you. It's very like nowadays it's like everybody's just airing their out everything like on the internet. It's so upside down though. So as I say this with my full face, like on your podcast, but it's just, I just think that's the times we're going into. I think we're going into a more trustworthy, open time. So I'm just trying to step into that and
accepting.
And I'm.
No, I'm very thankful for it. But, no, it seems like your entire story, it's like everything. When you talk about stars aligning and things happening at the proper times, it's like a lot of your story, a lot of your timeline, everything just seemed to coincide with the next, and just it was like proper timing, like all those things, viral moments, just intuitive, all that stuff. It just seemed to happen at the right time for you. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Yeah, I think it's just a building, like having the mindset of like you're always building, you're always planting seeds, you're always improving. Like if you're always moving forward, then what's not, like why would you not arrive where you expect to be? Like I think that, and this is obviously coming from somebody who is in my mind a lot, and I have to like quiet the mind lately. I'm trying to do a better job of that and not have the mind run the show. But yeah, it's having faith. It's like moving forward and not losing sight of the end goal, and not being swayed by what everybody else is doing or saying or whatever. You just hold the line type thing.
Yeah, no, having faith is definitely a big portion of it, and just being hyper focused. Mm-hmm. And since you're a very systematic individual and very, organized and disciplined, if you will. That's probably like a good terminology for what you are.
Trying to be.
Yeah, you're very disciplined. You've got to work with so many wonderful people. This gloss black opportunity really expanded and you got to blossom as a flower, if you will. In 2015, you got to work with the great Justin Bieber. Now, people might hear this and be like, what do you mean the great? Nah, Bieber's the GOAT.
Yeah.
I fuck with Bieber heavy. I do. His new album's fire. He worked with Dijon and McGee. Journals is one of the most fire albums of all time.
Like I said, I live under a rock.
I'm a music guy.
I don't.
Nah, I'm a music guy, and I pay attention to everything. And Bieber's been, I don't like the early stuff, but Bieber's got heat. How did that situation come to be? Because it was a really interesting rollout. If I'm correct, he was coming out with this album.
Yeah.
Every single he had an artist paint the name of the single somewhere on a wall as a promotion.
There's a lot of well-known graffiti artists that did this promotion, in all up and down the East Coast, I think in the West Coast. But it was gifted to me from Graffiti USA. Shout out to Victor and Val. They were the ones that were like, you're obviously painting Philly. Can you find us a wall in Philly? And you got it. So it was like they were the ones kind of controlling that. And I just, I was the go-to for the Philly area since, I was living and working and painting a lot of murals around Fishtown in that area. I dropped that right in Fishtown. Another friend, he had the wall, it's always odd just to find a wall off like, hey, can you find a wall this week? It's like in a prominent area and you're
easy.
Like, what? Yeah.
Nah, you got it. Yeah. Easy. And you did the song with Travis Scott, No Sense, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that piece. Great. It was gold. If I remember, it was gold lettering.
Yeah, it was like a gold bevel. They were like, you can just do whatever, just make it cool. And I was like, that's easy. All right. I think I did like a space background or something crazy. But again, it was like, quick, can you get it done this week? Get us high-res photos by this time. And then, we turned it around. I actually forgot about that project until you brought it up before we recorded.
No, I never forget.
And then it's funny because he shared them, all of them, but he didn't credit any of the artists. Like nobody on his team credited anybody. And I was like, oh man, that would have been great if he gave us everybody a shout out, like not just a tag, not just me, but like every city, like nobody got a shout out. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sucks. But I was getting flooded with like teenage girls being like, where is this mural? It's not where you said it is. And people are getting like angry at me because they're like, it's not here. I'm here right now. And I was just like, it's there. Just look around. And I'm like messaging all these like teenage girls about like where this Bieber friggin' mural is.
Come on, son.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Real?
It was so weird. Yeah, people were getting real angry with me that they couldn't find, because it was on a cross street, but it was like around a corner. Nobody could figure it out. And I was just like,
God, bro.
But so for whatever reason, people put two and two together that I painted it, but his crowd was coming at me just being like, where is it? Where is it? So I was like, this is so wild. So
That's funny that you said like people were figuring out as me. How long do you think it took for people to understand that gloss black was MECRO, or was it more of a product of you actually just coming out and openly saying it?
I think it's been like a if you know, you know type thing for a long time, and it's not hard to put it together.
Yeah.
A lot of, I don't know how people come across it, and this is, I've kind of purposely just kept them separate because I've considered them separate. I consider the graffiti separate from the mural artwork, and the mural work is like obviously like a commission-based work with clients. And I think that for myself, I didn't want to step into that and try and like prop myself up based on my graffiti career, because at that time it was like healthy, I guess, if for lack of a better word. And I was like, I'm just going to prove myself with this. Like, so I built Gloss Black up without any type of like MECRO influence. Like it was meant to be like me working with a client and me providing something for them based on what they would need or want,
it was organic.
Yeah, me as an artist, I'm giving you my 2 cents as to what I think would look cool. And I also didn't want to have it be too much graffiti. Like I wanted it to be, obviously already my graffiti is very not graffiti. Like it doesn't read as, I don't know how to describe it. It's not like traditional wild style lettering, obviously. So I already play with 3D fonts and things like this that we've already talked about. So it's already like doing the mural stuff was an easy adaptation of me being me, but like inject whatever the brand needs or have the brand logo here and do you around it. So it's like I still get to play with it, you know. So I didn't need to have them blended, you know, and I didn't need to, and I didn't want to. I was still painting illegally at that time, so I didn't need. It just seemed too messy to me. And now it's just more of like I've kind of stepped back from the graffiti a bit, and I'm focusing more on like the gallery art or the fine art or whatever you want to call it. My own studio pursuit of material. So it's more just like I've kind of like brought everything back together as me, as what I'm trying to do. You know.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're the typography god. That's clear. When did you realize you were so good at it, and how did you develop your insane understanding of letter structure and style? Was there any books that were inspiring to you? Was there any typography artists that you looked at? Like, were there any Bibles that you went by when you were doing this case study?
Another good question now. Yeah, I have a stack of books at home. I mean, I couldn't list off all the different names of them, but yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for anything font related. Like I wouldn't pull too much from that when it came to like freight train stuff, but definitely there's some like really retro fonts that are super cool, or even like little tweaks of effects that retro fonts would use, and I would kind of inject that into like graffiti or even like mural work. I'd kind of like leech it in, use it for other clients' work.
This fucking bird, dude. I want to kill this. You hearing this bird?
Get that gun and shoot.
I'm going to go out. You got your gun on you? Yeah. I'm going to fucking kill him. Finish your story though. Sorry.
You want to let it chirp?
No, do your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a stack of books, but honestly, I just stopped kind of looking at them. I think that I lost track of what we were talking about. What were we talking?
I would assume you found yourself after reading these books. You just came into your own fucking flow.
Yeah, I think it was like sign painting is obviously a big influence on me, or that kind of hit me late as well. Like I didn't fall into the, like, sign painting became very popular the last few years. So I kind of adapted from almost a very basic, boring font into like somewhat of like a stylized basic sign painter font, which when it came to like obviously the bevel seems very much like a sign painter effect.
Yes.
So I started to like you can really see that in the work, that it starts to blend a lot of different sign painter elements, or like layering, or 3D with 3D on it, like multiple layers. So I'm always just, even like a bag of chips or something will have like a cool font, and I'll be like, oh, and I'll just take a picture of it and then add it to a list. Like I'll have it as like on deck as something I want to do, or an effect I want to do, or you know. So
interesting.
That's kind of how I would line things up. You know?
Yeah. Sign painting is shout out to Joe Lotto. Love his stuff.
Joe Lotto,
baby. The sign painting stuff's very interesting, and it's very toxic. From my understanding, the one shot is a real ruthless fucking paint to paint with, right?
Yeah, I painted with that for a number of years in my garage in the winter with a space heater, a propane space heater. I probably lost so many brain cells from both the paint and the fumes from the propane. But it was, yeah, man, it's pretty gnarly. I've switched back to acrylic. I'm using only acrylic now, but yeah.
Sign painting stuff's amazing. There's a guy that I've been following for years called Dave Smith. You know Dave Smith?
Yeah, incredible work.
Dude, that dude is the gold foil. He's fucking on. That is a dying art.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, they're bringing it back. I mean, and the guy I mentioned earlier, Mike Myers, he's like the OG of sign painting too. He's out in Illinois, but he tours around the world and he does like sign painting classes, you know.
Fucking amazing, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that stuff. Like, I think I asked Joe Lotto, I might one day have him come paint the fucking glass here, the entrance, you know, with funny hours, you know, like hours of operation. Anyway, the interesting thing about you and how many different clients you have is astronomical. The quality and the caliber of them. Justin Bieber. And then there's one project that I love a lot is the Gap project.
Oh, here we go.
I love that project because you're actually in it. You could see you painting in it. Describe that project and how that whole thing even got jumped off.
Man. Well, that's another one I have to shout out to Graffiti USA because it was through them. I actually came in late. I had this is like a crazy story. This is probably like the craziest experience I had when it came to like as client stuff. Again, totally out of my world, but I had been painting for like maybe 2 weeks straight. I was away from family. We had a new baby at home, and I was like eager to come home and chill for a week or something. And I get a call from Vic being like, "Yo, man, you should probably do this project. They can't get a hold of the one artist to do it. Can you take over what they need to do and design this? And we need to be up there by like this weekend." So it was all very rushed where they basically had the whole entire production set up on a soundstage in New York, in like a, place to film. It was a massive production. I've never been around anything like that. And they had people doing wardrobe and makeup and all this stuff.
Wow.
They had, Director X was the guy who directed it. The guy who does Drake's videos at the time. So he was like hot at the time. And Fiction was the dude who danced. He's like well known for he had a viral video. Yeah. And so I was just like completely out of my like I felt completely out of place there. It was so funny.
But they're painting the fucking top of the box.
And also shout out to Casey Bolding. He helped me out. He came and again, it was so rushed that I had to paint the whole set. Like we had to paint the ground, and then we painted those blocks, and then I had to do like the word collage of whatever it was, like wash well denim or whatever the theme was, and it was just funny, man. They were doing makeup on my hand. First of all, they gave me a manicure, and then they like falsely put paint on my hand, and I was like, this is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. It was just so funny. But yeah, I mean, that was a wild time. Dude,
they give you a manicure, you can't even see your fucking fingernails in the video.
I know it was above and beyond. Everything was I mean, I had they tailored an outfit to me. Like it was nuts.
Oh man.
But the one here, I'll tell you one funny story from that. So they had like a snack bar or whatever, for the grips or whatever. And so I'm on the set, but we're not allowed to leave the set if they're filming. So if they take a break, we have to stay on the stage or whatever, on the blocks.
Okay.
And somebody's like, "Can we get you anything? You want something?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a Red Bull or whatever and some snack." Like the day before, they had like peanut butter filled pretzels on the table, and I was just like,
those.
"Can I get some peanut butter filled pretzels?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So, dude, like an hour goes by, and I got the Red Bull, no problem. And then it's just like an hour goes by, I forgot about it. I was like, "Oh, they just forgot." Like whatever, it doesn't matter. And somebody came back with like a brand new bag, and they're like, "Yeah, we sent an intern out. We didn't have any, so we sent an intern out to go get it." Like as if like I conjured up somebody went out of their way into New York City to go get like a snack for me, which was just totally not unnecessary.
Diddy making the band shit.
Yeah. So I was like, where am I? It seemed so strange. So
that's fucking wild, man.
I just thought that was funny.
Out of all the murals that you've painted ever, is there any in particular that you're not even most proud of, that's your personal favorite?
Oh man, personal favorite mural. Well, I mean, I mentioned the TME mural, the Motor Enclave in Tampa, Florida. That one was the biggest one, and I liked that one a lot because for the scale of it and the color palette, and it was all very much a collage of various things that I like to do. But yeah, man, I mean, there's so many. I did one in the Amazon office that I liked a lot. It was like a letter jumble along the floor, and it was like all different like marquee lighting, 3-dimensional lights or lettering and marquee style letters. And I geeked on that. I mean, I like that one a lot. anything that's just like big bold lettering. Like I did a really cool Philadelphia in the Wells Fargo Center, like on the way where like all the athletes or like the musicians would walk in the back way. Okay. There's like a big wall there. And I just did a very simplistic cursive Philadelphia. Things like that, like just a nice simple, it seemed right. Like things that seem where they're placed and looks good. You know what I mean? Versus like an advertisement. It seems like this belongs here. You know, I like those kind of murals.
Oh, sick. Out of all the artwork that you do, whether it's graffiti, fine art, murals, who are some of your biggest inspirations when it comes to art in general?
My go-to is Damien Hirst. I really love his work.
Really?
Yeah. I think that something about him where he's always, you never know what you're going to get. And I think there's power behind that where you can create based on what you feel or what you imagine or whatever you're channeling in to bring out. Is like you have a thought or a thought form, and then you bring it out into real life. Whether he's, you know, we could get into like he's not the one creating some of this work, but I'm just drawn to the fact that his stuff is all over the map when it comes to style or sculpture or statues or paintings, realistic paintings, sloppy paintings. Yeah, it's more of like he's really just at play, and I admire that a lot. And I think I would like to channel a lot of that in for my own work, where I'm kind of just not boxed in. I'm not a brand. That's why I resisted doing the R more. That's why when you wanted to do the pins, I was resistant to it at first because I didn't want to make MECRO into a brand. I consider that me as an expression of it belongs in the freight yard. I didn't want to bring it and put it on t-shirts. I didn't want to make like sticker packs and sell them out and make it as a product and I've tried to do that as well with gloss black where I want to not be boxed in. I don't want to be a brand. I want to be an individual that's expressing themselves. So a lot of what I'm trying to do now is get to the heart of who I am and then better express myself, because that's the best way I can like give back to everybody around me, is to just be me. So that's
interesting. I'm curious personally, now that you brought that up, to those listening or watching, Jimmy and I have collaborated on about 3 different pin drops.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for those. Those are some of my favorite pins that I ever came out with. My wife wears them on her denim jacket daily.
Lovely.
A lot of people fan over those. Since you say that's not your typical thing, I'm just curious for personal gain. What was it that made you want to collab with me and actually follow through with it? Just personal.
Just a hunch. I felt like first you were a friend of a friend. So that was I already felt comfortable talking with you about the project, and you didn't push me at all too. You know, you weren't like, we got to have this. This is going to be great, because you might have done that a little bit, but that's just because you're excited or whoever. I think that, again, to be calculated, I want to make sure that what I'm putting out is something that I'll like be happy with in the long run. You know, you can't do that for everything, but pins seemed like a natural fit for the R. I didn't want to, it seemed fun. It didn't seem forced. It seemed like the right time. It seemed like a cool idea. You had a quality product, and it seemed like a no-brainer. So I was just like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? And we chatted a few times before, and you were very understanding that I was like, you know, if I was open about, this doesn't seem like the right time, or I don't like this part of it, you were like, that's cool. You know, that's all you need. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's what any artist wants to hear, is like, that's cool, whatever you think is best. If you're the artist and you're going to release art, then it should be what you want. Like we shouldn't make compromises, you know? So
no, that was one thing about me when I love highlighting an artist or working with them is just, I know how artists are. I grew up, I'm a graffiti fanboy.
We're all kind of different. I think we're all different.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But in general, like, I like to highlight the artist and let them, you know, a lot of artists are very opinionated and they have their own way of doing things. That's what makes them an artist. whether their art is aggressive or calm, they just have their own way. So me, just personally, I'm a fanboy, but I was like, you know what? I just want to accommodate the artist. That was always my thing. And since when I was making pins, I'm like, every artist is different. Every deal's going to be different.
Right.
And every accommodation is going to be different. So you had that and you were like, you know, I don't want to do it now, but I will one day. When you and I met up at that fucking Dunkin' Donuts or wherever it was, and I gave you a bunch of pins so you could see the product, feel it.
Yeah.
And I was ready. As long as you told me that you were cool, whatever, I knew when you were ready. Like I told you, there was some weird energy or feeling that I felt with you. It's I don't want to sound cliche or whatever, but it was, I knew you and I had an understanding of you before even knowing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a resonance. Like I think that we're, you know, we have that in us. Like whether we recognize or not, like you can feel that off somebody. Like I think that, I felt that as well. I was like, oh, this will work and it'll be fine. Like you know, I've met plenty of people where I was like, oh man, no. We're like, you know, so yeah, I didn't feel that from you at all. There's like, you know, it's just natural. It's like a natural progression, you know.
And it's clear you don't do many interviews. This is the first video interview you've ever done.
Yeah.
You know, so it shows. And, you know, I appreciate that. like I told you, I'm very thankful for your presence, for your friendship. For you.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's interesting for me. This is an experiment for me too. You know what I mean? Like I don't do this all the time.
Yeah, no, I think your fans are going to appreciate it. And, you know, when we did that pin project, it was, you know, it's weird. I'm a very impatient person, but with certain things and certain people, I'm not. And with you, I just never felt this sense of urgency. I'm like, when he's ready, let me up. So I would work around you. Yeah. And when you're ready, you hit me up.
Tell me, I'm impatient too.
Well, it worked, you know. Yeah. You know, when you and I did our little project, I loved the pins we did, man. It's so much fun.
Best. Super quality, dude. They're great quality.
So much fun. And then you ended up, what I loved about you the most is you had some other guys bothering you to do pins a lot. And that was the guys that were connected with the Seventh Letter dudes. And I'll never forget, you hit me up, like, do you mind? I'm like, you're an artist, man. I support whatever you want to decide. Yeah. And it didn't bother me at all.
I think, I mean, that might be that type of like respect or like letting somebody know ahead of time or like that. I think that's like almost like a graffiti, something that I've pulled from graffiti that is also just like high integrity. You know, it's like it's funny to say, but there's a, you know, I wouldn't give somebody's number out unless I like ask my boy if I can give their number out. Like you don't just give the number out, or I don't connect you with somebody unless it's like it's been asked or can I give them your number? Yes. Like whatever it might be, like there needs to be, cause I've had people call me out of the blue, be like, yo man, like, blah, blah. I'm like, who is it? Who gave you my number? You know what I mean? That just already you're already in a weird position. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for you and me, it was easy peasy. It seemed natural.
Your studio work is absolutely incredible to me across the board. And, you know, most of your followers and your fans have noticed there's been a significant, drastic change in the subject matter of your work. You know, I would assume that it would leave a lot of them a little puzzled because it's a big drift from what you used to do, from your normal practice. I love what you do now, but I think it puzzled a lot of people that didn't understand what's going on. So I kind of want to use this opportunity to highlight why your work changed and this drastic period that, I don't know if you want me to call it this, but I like to call it the enlightenment period, because something happened in your life, a very pivotal change that essentially there's a, you know, like there's a before Christ and an after Christ. Right. You kind of had one of those moments within yourself. You are different from where you were before this point. So if you can, take your time, take the floor. Let's take a deep dive in what exactly happened in your life, what exactly this period consists of. And I want you to explain why your work changed so much. Yeah,
thanks for that intro on that. Yeah, it's I don't even know where to start on it, but I will say, like, piggybacking off what we talked about with Damien Hirst, or how he's an inspiration of mine, is that kind of explains a lot of where I'm going with the current work. The current work is very much a deviation from lettering, or it doesn't relate to the mural work at all. It seems very left field. I can understand that. I get it. And it's a little bit weird to me too. I mean, but I'm just kind of like letting it happen. But without getting too far ahead, like Damien Hirst. I mean, I think that I'm realizing now, I have a better perspective now looking back on the graffiti, on my childhood, on like everything that's informed me up until this point. And his style of work, or him being free to move about the board, is very alluring to me. And I feel like I've been doing that when it comes to graffiti or my life, or, you know, I work for myself. We're kind of creating our own life, me and my family. I'm finding my own way. I'm not trying not to depend on other systems, if you will. So I'm trying to be an independent soul, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think, to get into it, I've had great success. I feel successful. I am a success in what I do. I'm happy and content with what I've made, you know what I mean? And what I continue to do. And I think it was around the end of 2024 I had like a big lull in work. Like, it was just like, for whatever reason, I was hitting snags, like people were really fighting me on design stuff. And I was getting really ran through the ringer, per se. I was feeling a disconnect with what I'm doing as a job. Like, I was like, what am I, this doesn't seem like the normal pace. I was very over analytical about it. I'm like, why is everybody pushing back on me? Like, why is this not so smooth? Sorry, I'm getting like emotional, but so I was like questioning all that, and I was like, why is this happening? I was getting frustrated, like I was like super pissed and frustrated, and things didn't seem to be going, and nothing had changed on the outside. I was, still providing a service to people, mural work, and doing murals and creating my own artwork on the side, when I have time.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm just giving too much of my power away to a lot of these people, and like they're kind of just like steamrolling over me. Like I'm just like another tool to get the job done. That I felt like underappreciated to a degree, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I was just working out. I didn't know how to pivot in my work, and so I just was like, all I can do is improve myself. All I can do is do better for myself and my family. That's all I can do. So I went inside. I went internal. So I was very trying to figure out who I was, and man, I didn't expect to get so choked up about this.
You're making me choke up, dude. I'm fucking wiping my fucking eyes.
Trying to put this lightly. Anyway, I'm always grateful. I'm thankful for all that I have, and taking inventory and being appreciative of the life I live and the family I have, and not taking anything for granted. And one day I was planting a tree in my yard, and I had like this overwhelming sense of like love. And that's the best way I can describe it, is but with that came like answers to a lot of questions I had, like a knowing. And I'm not going to say that I don't like the term enlightened because I don't think that's the right term. But I'm sorry, I'm getting so choked up.
No, you're choking me up, man.
But
you're choking me up, dude.
I don't know how to describe it. It's something that happened to me, and it was completely overwhelming, and it kind of threw me for a loop. And I'm like reintegrating that this year. So maybe you can take it over, and I can recalibrate.
Yeah, it was something. I would assume it was something that's kind of almost indescribable.
Yeah, totally.
You know, sometimes like feelings and shit, you can't. It's hard to like verbalize what you felt. You know, it's just the feeling, and it was just a pivotal moment in your life that there's just some like sudden realization, and I guess certain parts clicked for you.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Is it's like a and it's funny because I was listening to the life story of Edgar Cayce, and a lot of this ties into what his story is, and I'm hesitant to like go any direction with this right now. It might be best if you just ask me questions because it kind of goes everywhere. Like when I've tried to describe this stuff, even when like you and I had lunch, it's kind of hard to put my finger on, and I'm realizing that I'm finding a better way or an easier way to express it through art. So, and that just seems like like the more natural way to try to put a handle on what I'm feeling or what I know to be true. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to.
Let's talk about Edgar Cayce, because before you, I've never heard of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who exactly is Edgar Cayce, and why is he so important to you? Because you painted that wonderful letter piece that just, it's a bunch of letters. If anybody ever see, I'll pop it up on the YouTube video, but anybody that could see this right now, it's a beautiful piece painted with all these 3-dimensional letters, and the only letters that are highlighted in a different color are the words Edgar Cayce.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was, I don't even know where to start here. It's kind of like his story was very interesting to me. It's very much like a metaphysical story about, he was a devout Christian. I think he grew up in like Tennessee. He was like he was like a poor farmer, but he had this type of sense, like an extrasensory perception of things as a child.
Huh.
And so long story short, I mean, I'm not a scholar on this stuff. I'm still learning. Like, this is all very new to me. So I'm kind of still trying to absorb, and I'm like reading all these different books, not just on Cayce, but on like Egypt and physics and all this random stuff.
You're trying to put everything together that you're just suddenly absorbed with.
Yeah, like I'm realizing it's kind of like where intuition meets logic. It's kind of like I've pitched over. I've been very, as we talked about the graffiti, I've had a very logical mindset, and now it's kind of shifted or blended with a more intuitive mindset, and it's hard to put into words. So, but this didn't, up until, to go back, since I'm not getting all choked up for whatever reason, I was frustrated. I was super pissed. I didn't know what to do or how to recalibrate or like move forward in a positive mindset. Cause I didn't want to put on the clients. It was more like something just doesn't seem right. And, so I was frustrated and working out. All I could do is improve myself and read and become more knowledgeable. Like I looked out at the world at that time and I was like, everything's going to shit and everything's crazy and upside down. Anyway, to answer your question, I read Edgar Cayce's thing, and I happened to be listening to it while this experience happened. This feeling came over me, and it was like at a part where it said the grand mosaic came together, and that was just, and at the same time I was like, holy shit! Like I had like an epiphany. I don't even know how to describe it really, but it just lined up with that part of the book for whatever reason. So yeah, that's why I made art. I made like a piece for him, you know. And now my artwork is kind of deviated. I can kind of see like even the work leading up to that was like almost deconstructing itself. A lot of it's like ripped up, aggressive, broken, you know, pieced together. It's like Americana, but ripped up, and like, you know, it's kind of like an internal, I'm looking at it like a journal entry, like it's that I wasn't even aware of, because I was just up until that point, I was creating artwork that I thought looked cool, or like, this is cool, this is a sign, I'll put it together and just blend it. And there wasn't much like meaning behind it. And now that I look back at it, it seems more like I can see the story. I can see it more clearly, you know, like I can understand myself better by seeing the work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So after this tree planting and your whole culture shifted within yourself, you're listening to Edgar Cayce. I guess we could safely say the Edgar Cayce piece was kind of like the first pivotal moment artistically that kind of changed everything from that point forth.
No, I think it would be the, I'm calling it the piece yin yang. The one right before that, it's like a red and white. It's what I've made the logo for Gloss
the shirts
Black
that you gave me. Yeah, totally.
I kind of went overboard with.
I wouldn't say overboard.
I got a bunch of them made, but that was kind of like, to me, like that's like a pivotal one, because it's kind of like it's kind of like this blend of patriotism that is also just ripped apart. And there's a lot more, it's where the symbolism, it's where symbolism starts to really take over. And I think that's where my work is going now, is that I'm focusing on symbolism, because I'm realizing the importance of how symbols, and how many symbols are known worldwide that we're not even educated on. Like, everybody will know what an emoji is, or like what an emoji stands for, like a peach emoji, you know what that means. But like, you don't know what like the true meaning of like a yin yang or a yin yang, and other, you know, the flower of life, or all these other geometric shapes, the ankh.
Yeah.
And I'm educating myself on them, but as I'm educating myself, I'm putting it into the artwork, because that's the closest to me as I can get, is that I'm interested in this. I'm also making artwork. I'm informing myself, but I'll also be able to inform other people on this. So that's kind of why.
That's beautiful.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do. And it's right now, it's not necessarily like jiving with my older work, but I'm just going with what I feel is right, you know. And I didn't answer your question about Cayce, but if I can get back to what he was, or what I know about him, since I'm not a scholar on him, but he was, long story short, he would like lay down on a couch and be able to diagnose people's ailments from wherever they are in the world, or states or whatever, and to pinpoint accuracy without even meeting these people. And I was like, this was in like the 20s. So I'm like, how would you fake, my logical side of my mind was like, how would you fake that? Like, how would you can't just have people like jet setting around the country telling you like, oh, this lady's in a wheelchair, this is whatever it might be. And there's a lot of stories. It's worth looking up. I think it's really interesting stuff. You know, and he would give them holistic medicine remedies for their ailments, you know, without seeing them. And he would do like maybe 2 readings a day or whatever when he started. And I found that interesting. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one to like, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch sports. I don't, you know, so I'm just kind of following the path that I feel I'm interested in, you know, as you do with what you're creating, you know? So he, anyway, it quickly turned to one guy came by, I forget his name, but he was like, how have you not asked this higher being or this source that you're channeling to answer all these amazing questions for people? How have you not asked it like all the amazing questions of like where we come from, or like why we're here, and all this like what are the pyramids and yada, yada, yada. And then they started doing that, and then they started getting wild answers. So then that starts going down like a rabbit hole, you know?
Interesting.
So, yeah, I found it super interesting. And and answer a lot of questions too. I think there's a lot of merit to it, in my opinion.
Huh. Yeah, that stuff really intrigues me. And I really wanted to talk about it because I have a feeling that people saw your work because it was a really drastic change in what you were used to. And I feel like the engagement was like a little different for you to get used to. And you were like, what the fuck? They don't like, but I just think it's just that because people don't understand. And I think that this is why I wanted to do this podcast so much with you, because I feel like it's important for your fans to just understand why this is going on. I think they would appreciate your work more. So that was kind of like one of the main like catalysts for this, is because I love your new work so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really do. And I don't think the outsiders appreciate it as much as I do. So I wanted to give them more of a better understanding where you come from and the heart of it all. It's like, oh, that's why this makes more sense. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, I've resisted a lot of like what society is trying to tell you to do. And a lot of it, even when it comes to the art world, you're not supposed to diagnose your art. You're not supposed to tell people what your art means. And I don't necessarily agree with that either. Like you don't have to, all these things that are pressed on us, you don't have to align with. You don't have to agree. You don't have to follow. So for like the artwork for me is like, I'm not even going to say that it's my best work. I'm just saying that it's work that I'm doing right now, and that I'm making it because I feel pulled to make it. Or maybe, I just understand, like I've been creating art for a long time. So I understand that in doing it, the more you do it, the more you discover more of what you're trying to get at. Like I'm always trying to get to the next thing. So I understand that it's a process. So what's coming out right now could be like the bastardized version of like my 3-year version, which is going to be better and more polished. And I'm understanding of that, even if it's like basic and it's just Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs, which is part of another inspiration for these circular signs. I'm just going within my intuition and my excitement and what inspires me, what excites me. And I'm just diving into that head first. And I don't really care what people think about it. It's the same as graffiti. Like I don't care it's not so much for them. It's more for like me to figure out.
Right.
And it might just be, you're only seeing the inkling first stages of something that is going to be bigger or make more comprehensive sense in a couple months or a couple years, or, maybe it won't make any sense, or maybe it'll make sense to only a couple people. It doesn't really matter as long as I think that, I've realized the importance of not holding back and just letting it out. Like if you were like a big fan of Jay Dilla, right? Right. And everybody says, dude, he has an abundance of, right. I've seen multiple videos where people are like, he has all that, he keeps coming out with stuff or releasing stuff that was old, that was like locked up. And as a creative or anybody that's creative, I feel like you should be just letting it out, like not care, even if it's not fully formed. And that's kind of what is tumbling out with the studio work right now, is that it's more of like thoughts and ideas I have that I'm just kind of like letting out, letting go, or like, I feel like this is important to make. And I'm using the time I have to make that, cause I'll have mural work to do, and then I have to juggle and family and things like that. So I need to, while I have the time, like let it out, get it out. And then my next plan is to like put it all into a book. So that's what I'm about to start doing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's always one thing leads to another, right? Especially with creative minds. With
if you
people,
don't start, if you don't start, then you don't get anywhere. So sorry.
No, people like you that are always looking forward, trying to advance. I think it's all relevant. It's all great. And this didn't even need an explanation, rather. It didn't need it. But I love your work so much. I even love your newer work that much more. I just wanted to put on display how much I love it.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
And the reasoning.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of like, I'm realizing it's like kind of like what that's saying, like, be careful. What's it like? Careful what ladder you climb, because it might be on the wrong wall, or whatever the saying. I think that's the saying, because I feel like I climbed a ladder where I'm like, oh shit, now I actually, I should be in the pocket of being an artist that's not being curated by people. And that's where I strive to be. So therefore I need to step into that and be that more and more and more. So, yeah. And also on top of that, it's like the art world seems like it's all propped up by who's the most expensive artwork.
Yeah.
And, or a lot of it is. I'm not gonna blanket the whole thing. There's a lot of great, talented artists out there, and people are worth the money that is there. But I think that at the heart, art shouldn't be about how expensive it is, and we've lost touch with that, I think, a lot. And so I'm trying not to let that in my psyche and just make, and I'm not worried. I'm not trying to make it in order to sell it. It's more of like, it needs to be made and brought into existence. And then from wherever it goes from there, it could go a lot of it's in my house or in my kids' rooms. Like, but if people want to purchase it, then that's great. But otherwise I'm not making it to sell. I'm not making myself into a brand, and I don't wish to do that, So, because then I'm boxed in, and I don't want to just be making ours my whole life, like, and I see other artists that are successful that are, they just have one look, and I'm very resistant to that. The
important thing is that you're making this stuff because you need to, not because you want to, because it's the way of self-expression. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if somebody wants to buy it, like you said, or whatever. You're making this because you need to, because it's something that has to get moved out of you, out of your inner psyche, out of your inner intuition. You got to get it out. Yeah. And however anybody perceives it is subjective.
Right. And I'd encourage anybody, just whatever you do, like you're doing a podcast, there's other people starting a business, like just do it. Just go out and create and do it. Like you're your own judge. Like you're judging like most people it's like failure to launch is like the thing that I hear the most. Like people ask me or message me stuff like, how do you do this, that? I'm like, just go, just start, just go do it. Like you're not gonna hit the bullseye the first time. Like just start moving,
Would you say that after this period, your style feels more like a reinvention or a homecoming of your authentic self?
I think so. I mean, I think it's a better blending, it feels more authentic to who I am, if that makes sense. And it's also, again, I'm not afraid to like just be a play. I think being a play is the thing that that more people should do. And we don't have time to do that because we're all working so much and we don't have time to play. So it's like you have to make time to play and to create and experiment and figure yourself out. And I think that's super important. And I'm just trying to really be in that mode like the most,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have one question for you. Has your relationship with ego changed since this? I know you don't like to call it the Enlightenment period, but figuratively speaking, let's just call it the Enlightenment period. Has your relationship with ego changed since this whole thing occurred with you?
Yeah, I think it was like in what, I guess, again, I'm like still learning. So it's like I've seen a lot of reflections of what I'm feeling by Carl Jung, like his things of individuation and the ego death.
I'm not familiar with him.
Okay, so again, I'm like still early on to him as well, but it's like, I've experienced like the ego is what's like driving you to do and create things. But instead of having the ego run the show, or like typically the masculine side to like go create, do more, I need to be recognized, like that type of like mindset it's like more like settle or incorporate more intuition into not just about you, me, I must get. It's more of like, how can I give? How can I create? How can I receive? It's more of like, it's like a switch. So I think that's, like the death of an ego or having my ego rinsed would be like I must perform to be successful. I must have value to be worthy. Things like that. It's like it's not necessarily true because we all inherently have that in us already. You know, you don't need to prove it to anybody so much. Yeah, again, it's hard to put into words, really.
No, yeah, I understand. I was just curious. Have you noticed since you've had this, again, I know you don't like the word, but it's just easier to coin it, you know, the Enlightenment period. Have you noticed your family or anybody around you affected by this positively or negatively?
I think, no, I haven't really changed much. I mean, it's not like a big pivotal moment. I think that it's more of what is a pivotal moment? But I think that I have, it's like a rewiring to a degree where I feel that it's, man, I don't know how to answer it. It's I feel more clear, but I also have a lot of like questions that I need to I need to educate myself on more things. So even though as I gain clarity, I realize that I don't know everything and there's a lot to be like discovered in life and there's a lot to be appreciated. And there's a lot of beauty that's all around us all the time that I'm more keen to now. Like I'm almost like hypersensitive to seeing things differently or more beauty in life. It's hard to describe. I think that I feel like more wishy-washy than I was. I feel like I'm more like eased back and less pushy or less like driving forward, just get it done, go forward. It must get done. It's more of like, hold on, let me hold back and like sit back, see how it develops. It's more of like a sit back mindset. So if anything, that's kind of where I've been at. Like
you kind of have dropped your guards and you're more open-minded than you ever were in your life.
Yeah, or more just like open to whatever may occur. Like it's not whatever is meant to be will be, but more receptive to what is to be, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Again,
I guess you could say you've become more of a skeptic also. Like you're more open to more ideologies.
Yeah, I think that I was very pessimistic. I was very skeptical about all the systems, and that's kind of what led me to have a viewpoint where it's like transcends like a lot of that, where I'm like I'm not tied into that. I'm having a hard time articulating this because I haven't talked about this before anyway, so it's like hard to get to like the core of what it is because to me it's like a very expansive and
you're
topic.
Still in the midst of it. You're still in the midst of learning.
Yeah, I think it's something that I'm just going to continue to go through. I think we're all going through, but I would justify it as like a jump forward in consciousness. Like we all have these moments in life where you have a moment where, you know, somebody passes away and things change like instantly, and then you're just on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You hit rock bottom, and then you go, oh wow, like why was I'm the one that was doing this, and it wasn't all these things I was blaming. It was me all along. So it's kind of like that for me, where I'm like, it's not everything else. It's more like I've kind of created this, whether in my reality or in my mind. I've been the one to create it. I've been the one that's doing this. So it's like I feel like I have more clarity on my thoughts and controlling my thoughts and being hyper aware of what I'm thinking and not taking my thoughts as truth, but taking them as just a thought. And it's just floating by. So it gets more into like an Alan Watts type mentality of like a Zen Buddhism. So that's why I kind of like a lot of the work has dove into like Eastern religious or traditions. I'm feeling that as I'm like resonating with that as like that seems like truth. I think I was following truth, trying to figure out what's true in the world. You know what I mean? Like as there's all these lies and you're seeing politicians do this, that, and other thing. And I don't want to go there with, pick a side or nothing like that. But where does truth lie? Everybody should be able to agree on what's true. And in doing that, I was finding a lot of, I was seeing the overlap in religion. I was seeing the overlap in mathematics or astrology or astronomy, like natural sciences. They all kind of inform each other, and they're all kind of, they're all different ways to tell the same truth in a way. It's hard to articulate because I've never talked about this, but it's kind of like if you can understand one, or it's like as above, so below, which I guess is the Hermetic text. But you can, something on the smaller micro level can explain something on a macro level. So it's kind of like if you can see the patterns, then you can understand things better, And I'm still in the midst of deciphering a lot of that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm understanding of all these things. I think that I'm just I saw an inkling of truth, and I'm following that with faith,
Such a remarkable. It's so weird to hear this shit because it's out of my realm. So it's very interesting to me though. I'm in my infancy stages with like exploring that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to hear somebody who is diving into it more than I am. And I'm totally clueless in this department, but I'm interested in it. So it's nice to hear that what you're going through and to, visually and audibly hear what you're going through.
Yeah. And I think that I'm realizing that, if I'm to put my own puzzle pieces together, I think that's like all we're here to do in life is to figure yourself out or know yourself to a point where then you can be the best version of yourself for everyone around you. So what I'm understanding is that, the artwork is to know myself. I know I'm an artist. I know I like to create art. I know I like to paint. I love color. I love texture. I love all of it. Right. So that feels true to me. That's a truth for me as me. And, so I'm using that as my way of conveying what I understand. So I'm trying to use the symbolism. I think symbolism is the easiest way to convey like very complex ideas into a small, like kindergarten level of understanding as like a transition into like a more elaborate idea or like a very elaborate like mathematical equation or like a natural science process or whatever it might be. But like a symbol can represent that in a better, more concise way than describing it or painting a literal picture of something,
Start with simplicity and then build on that simplicity and expand on it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of power behind that. I think the last show that I had in Philly, it was I was really happy with that show, and it was, for me, it was like all symbols, and it was very powerful to me, and I like, and that makes sense in relation to like the graffiti. It's like I wanted it to be powerful. I want it to be like in your face, bold, very literal, and then the R kind of turned into a symbol. So it all like really informed itself, and I understand like I should probably be studying symbolism and deciphering symbolism. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Interesting.
And I'm in the middle of learning, you know what I mean?
It's wonderful to witness your evolution. I think it's very cool. And I think hopefully this podcast will make people realize like how much of a magical moment they're experiencing within your art.
Let's hope. I hope.
Well, I do. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a biased fanboy, but
yeah, I think I'm very excited. I think that I have bigger ideas and bigger applications for these small little paintings that are coming out that might be confusing to people. I have like more. They're almost like my sketches, but they're fully painted out. So to me, it's just a sketch idea of something that I'm already anticipating making on like maybe like a 6x6 foot, something on a better wall hanging piece, So it's just knowing that I'm just in the now. It's not the forever, we're going to keep we're all going to keep progressing and building and adapting.
Yeah. No, I love your stuff, man. Especially the newer stuff. I mean, whether they perceive it as wonderful or not, the beautiful pond stuff with the lily pads and all these geometric shapes that are all mathematically in tune with this spiritual nature that you're kind of like colliding with your stuff. I think it's great, but maybe it's because I know you and I know your purpose. So it might be different for me than other people, but
yeah. And I realize like there's a lot of like sacred geometry art out there and all this stuff, and or like psychedelic art, you know. And I'm also looking at that because once this all happened, I wasn't spiritual, you know, I wasn't religious before all this. I was very much thinking, you know, I was probably agnostic to the point where you die and you're probably just dead and you're gone. You know, I didn't give it much thought. And now I'm like sent into this like new age spiritual. There's a lot of this stuff coming out now where it's like, and deciphering that, there's people in that are charlatans or, you know, whatever. And where people are just using it as like a drug escape, things like that. So I'm just trying to like ease into that and be discerning of that as well. Cause I'm like, there's an art world of this metaphysical sacred geometry world, and I'm like, I don't know, like some of it I'm like, I don't know who's like just taking a bunch of drugs and who's like who's like trying to like study themselves, or are they doing it
a little bit of both, I guess. Or
maybe it's trendy right now, I don't know, but then it's gonna
a little bit of both, I guess,
probably,
because there's a lot of kooks out there,
a
lot, like a lot of kooks. It's very, I love it. I love where your work has gone. I hope the world, or they might have already caught on to the beauty of it. And I appreciate those fine strokes and those clean lines. And I really love the koi fish you've been incorporating in your geometric patterns and stuff like that. It's cool. I wanted people to know the drive behind it. I think they would appreciate it more. Not that that's your intention. Like you said, you create because you need to. But I would love to just explain a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, and it's funny because we didn't even get into it, but I worked at a koi farm for a number of years.
Really?
Probably when I was the most active in painting graffiti. Like, so it's again like a full circle, pun intended, for the.
You worked at a koi farm?
Yeah, there was
Where?
one in South Jersey in Piles Grove.
So you were breeding koi fish?
Yeah.
What was that like? I need to know.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I guess I was like the helper. I was like the dude just like helping run the farm. Like there was a guy who had a breeder. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. But anyway, that kind of is also why I'm like incorporating that in the artwork now, because I'm like, this kind of just is like meant to be. Like it's also informs it. You know, it's like it's like that in itself was an art form I didn't even appreciate at the time. You know, I'm just working. I'm like young and working and just not getting paid much and just not kind of grumbling about this dude I work for or whatever, but not all the while not really appreciating like the beauty of these fish that I'm like raising thousands of them for this farm. Yeah. So
that's bizarre. And you're a fish guy. You used to fish. So
yeah. Oh yeah. And I at that time I still thought I was going to do something related to wildlife or fish and wildlife. And so I was working that. I figured that would be like a stepping stone job. You know, I was there for 3 or 4 years, I think.
Wow. Yeah. Are you still actively fishing a lot or no?
No, not so much. I've been trying to get into hunting, so that's why that's been taking over. It's a lot of time. Yeah. Yeah,
my buddy is a co-angler.
Oh, cool.
And he competes a lot. I actually sponsored his fishing jersey. He got my Pinhead Co logo on it. And I made a pin in his honor called sick. CJ the Big Bass, the Big Mouth Bass. Okay. I got to give you that pin.
I'll take it.
It's a big mouth bass, like a fucking, it's cool.
Nice.
It's good. It's good stuff. So do you ever see yourself stop painting graffiti, or is this something you'll do forever? And if so, why?
I mean, I feel like I've stopped this year. I mean, after all this, I kind of put the brakes on it, and why we're here, why we're chit-chatting, I figured like I'm pretty much, I feel done. I feel like I'm completed what I've done, but that doesn't mean I'll never do it or never. I mean, it's kind of like an easy thing to do. It's not that hard to go out and do, but I mean, I still enjoy spray painting and I do it for work all the time. And Yeah, I don't know. Right now I feel like I'm on a hiatus until further notice,
Wow. What's in the future for Jimmy, for MECRO, and for Gloss Black?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably more paintings like the ones you're looking at. I think that the next step is I'm going to be working on a book. So I'm going to say that right now to hold myself accountable for this book and put the last 10 years into a book. And with but I'm in the middle of trying to outline that right now. So I haven't fully thought it out, but I think that that's more appealing than me speaking. I feel like I'm better at writing things down. I take a lot of notes. I have a journal, and I'm hoping to take both all the graffiti, the mural work, the artwork, the journaling, the metaphysics stuff, and like put it into a book so it's much more digestible and tells more of like an easy readable story, hopefully. So, because I know it seems like to hear of everything together, it seems very like clustered. So again, like I'm realizing like I have a lot of interest, a lot of ideas. I'm drawn to a lot of different artwork. So I need to figure out a way to like take everything I've created the last 10 years and put that into some type of book. And I'm thinking it has to be in chronological order, and then just make sure I think that might be the next best move.
Well, listen, man, this was a journey, and I'm so thankful for you stopping by. I know this is, like I said in the beginning, I know this isn't your typical, this isn't your typical rodeo, and you're not really into this stuff. So I'm really thankful and appreciative of your presence. I'm thankful of your friendship. I love you more than you know.
Thanks, Al. I love you too,
and I can't wait for, your fans to just hear this open-ended side of you.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. And I'm just trying to be myself and figure things out. That's all we all can do, I guess.
Now, for those that don't know you, this is their first time encountering you, plug your socials and stuff and your website, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, at Gloss Black is my business page and my artwork page. At cooldude_XVI is my graffiti page. And you can go check out my website at glossblack.org. Send me a message. We'll do something. Make something cool.
Listen, brother, I'm telling you, I love you more than you know.
Thank you. I love you.
You're
too.
a fucking gentleman, a gemstone, and I'm thankful to know you. Really.
Thanks. Back at you, Al. Thank you for entertaining me or having the the thought to invite me on your show. I appreciate it.
We should do it again.
Yeah. All right. Love to.
Let's double back when you have some other shit cooking.
When I have the book done.
Yes. Perfect.
There you go.
Let's do it. Love you, brother.
All right. Take care.